Hello. Oh, it's working. Hello, everybody. My name's Connor. Welcome, Crwth, and thank you all for joining us at the first ever Beacons Basecamp event, coming to you live from the University of South Wales campus in Cardiff. For those who are not familiar with Beacons, Beacons is a pan-Wales organisation aiming to empower the next generation of young people aspiring to work in the Welsh music industry. It comes to provide all people with skills, experiences, industry knowledge, opportunities, and networking opportunities, of course, just like this, to help have a real successful and carve out a great experience in the Welsh music industry. So we'd like to thank and take this opportunity to thank Lucy Squire and the team here at the USW for hosting us this evening. Thank you very much. And of course, for all their hard work behind the scenes, setting up this incredible event, which I must say is way beyond me. I was expecting a phone on a tripod on a table. So it's a bit, bit better than I was expecting. But each panel and talk is powered by one of the fantastic courses, which we'll be introducing throughout the event that will be hosted here at the University of South Wales. So you're probably wondering who I am, why I'm up here yapping to you. Well, my name's Connor, and I'm a radio freelancer, and music, sound, and audio is everything about me. I've worked at Radio Cardiff now for probably about 6 years, and I present Weekend Breakfast, so you can hear this voice on the radio every weekend breakfast, for good or for worse. And thankfully, I've got opportunities to work for Beacons and work for BBC Radio Wales, Capital, and other radio stations here across Wales, which has been an incredible experience. So by all means, if you're interested in radio, come have a chat with me a little bit later. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. So I've been working as a young consultant for Beacons. That's one of the great opportunities that I've had, and I really mean it when I say it's great. It was kind of an application I sent out on a whim, and here we are. So it really does pay off to get involved with Beacons, and I've loved working for the Young Consultancy because I got to really experience the kind of diverse people, sound, experiences, and opportunities that are here in Wales. They're so, they're so thick and broad, and they're so rich here in Wales. So it's really good to get that kind of in-depth knowledge and get people that are in the industry, in the music industry in Wales, talk to me and want to learn a little bit more about me. So definitely have a chat to people in Beacons. There's a few of them dotted around the room, so really, take the time to have a chat to them if you can. So tonight, most importantly, we're going to hear from some amazing young people doing amazing things behind the scenes in the music industry in and around Cardiff. So you'll have a chance to pick their brains, as I've mentioned, and speak to them personally later on. So please do stick around till the end and don't miss it. You'll really not regret it. And we'll also have some incredible live music from the Honey Session artists, which you don't want to miss. So we'll be live streaming this event across Wales and beyond to the world. So a big hello to everyone watching online, on Facebook, on YouTube, hello. And you can get in touch and join the conversation online. Why not? You can tag at Beacons Cymru and at USW_creative and _music in your Instagram stories, tweets, and Facebook posts. And while you're at it, why not hashtag Summit to share your experience too. So our Beacons team will be hosting the panels throughout this evening, and our members such as Richard, Spike, and Luke will be around throughout the evening. If you wish to discuss any ideas or something that's bugging your mind, let them know. Have a chat to them. They're so friendly, and they'll be more than happy to kind of, have a little chat to you and get something rolling in terms of the music industry. But enough about me. I'm rambling. Without further ado, the most incredible events of the night are still to come, and this is one of them. So without further ado, coming up, presented by Crwth and powered by USW BA Music Business, is how to get into music journalism. So please put your hands together for our host for this panel, Alexandra Jones.
So welcome to Summit Basecamp. Today's event, like Connor said, has been kindly powered by USW Music Business. I also did that course. If you have a passion for music and making things happen, the USW Music Business degree provides the opportunity to explore the many avenues available in the music business, be entrepreneurial, and develop specialist business skills. Graduates have gone on to work in entertainment law, live touring, marketing, artist, and event management. So thanks everyone for coming, and welcome Beth, Rachel, and Dabes. We're going to be kicking off this Crwth panel talking everything music journalism. So just to introduce everyone, so here we have Bethan Miller. So Bethan Miller is a renowned freelance music photographer specialising in music and portraiture based in Cardiff, South Wales. She's been self-employed since leaving USW in 2017, and since then has opened a photography studio focused on giving photographers an affordable and inspiring blank canvas for everyone, no matter what experience level to create in. She has worked with international artists, publications and festivals such as Kerrang magazine, where she actually had a cover story and festival coverage, Funeral for a Friend, Alternative Press, Skull Candy, Download Festival, Reading, Leeds, Live Nation, Rock Sound, and many more. And then on the far left, or far right, I'm not sure, I don't know my left and right anymore, is Dabes, or Daniel Abrams. He's an iconic Welsh radio presenter. He has presented for the likes of Radio Cardiff, Radio Platform, Radio Wales, and Festival of Voice. He's also worked for Capital FM and presented Airlinks for Capital Breakfast with Roman Kemp and Capital Drive with Josh and Callie. He's also a resident DJ at Club Iverbach. You might actually recognise him if you've been out bopping in Club Iverbach lately. Or not lately, I'm not sure. Have you been doing it lately?
Yeah, Friday.
Oh, amazing.
And I'm on
Friday.
as well.
And he's also a USW student, or a former USW student. So that's Dabes. And then Rachel in the middle is a hilarious and talented music journalist that has recently graduated from Cardiff Met with a degree in music journalism. Alongside her business partner Liam, she founded Seatbelt Sessions, and they are live music sessions and interviews filmed in a tiny yellow car. What sort of car is it? What make?
It's a Fiat 500. Just trying to change the perception of Fiat 500.
Some Welsh artists that have featured on the show include the Murmurins, Femberg, Afbob, which I see over there, Angel Hotel, and Yasmin and the Euphoria, which I also see over there. So I'll introduce myself as well. So I'm Alex, hello. I work for Beacons and Forte, and I do some promoting as well at Porter's. There's actually an event on after this later, if anyone fancies coming. It's going to be nice. And Crwth. So what's Crwth? So it was part of my project for Beacons. I've been working on it for the last 8 months, I'd say. It's a Welsh music magazine focused on the industry side of Welsh music. And alongside the industry, it aims to show modern Welsh art, photography and poetry. The purpose of the magazine is to educate young people on how they can get jobs in the modern Welsh industry and celebrate Welshness overall. If you didn't know this fun fact, a crwth is actually an ancient Welsh instrument. That's kind of how that ties in. So enough of me reading off some paper, and we should probably get to speaking to these lovely people. So formalities and introductions aside, let's get into it. So I have some more like general big questions for everyone, and then some more like specialised for each of you. But if you just like to... Way! So if we just want to kick off by asking, how did each of you get into the music journalism field? So Beth, do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess so. So it's a really long story, but essentially I loved music growing up, and I used to like queue up and go to shows and things like that. I tried to be in a band, it didn't work. I tried to like learn how to play guitar and stuff, can't sing. And so I was just like, maybe I'll just watch shows forever. And I always used to be at the front of like gigs, and I saw this guy there all the time in front of me, like taking photos. And I was kind of like, one day I plucked up the courage and was like, why do you always get to be in front of me? Like, why is there a gap in between the stage and stuff like that? And he was essentially like, I'm a music photographer. And I was like, whoa, that's a thing. And like, I loved like taking photos on my rubbish camera and stuff like that at the time. And then he kind of explained to me like, buy a camera if you can afford to, go to local shows, go and meet local bands. And yeah, I just went from there and got passes for shows and things like that. But
oh, that's really cool. That's really interesting. Rachel, what about you?
Kind of similarly, I was just massively into music, always have been. And probably been going to Cardiff shows since I was about 14. I've got older brothers who like always played in bands and like club and stuff. I was always the child at the back of the venue with my mum and dad. So it was always quite nice, yeah. And really it started with Seatbelt Sessions for me. So I always kind of had blogs in various like rubbish forms and guises when I was a kid, and that we will never speak about again. But yeah, I've always been into media and stuff like that. And me and you mentioned Liam, who is actually my cameraman, if you will. We both worked in retail full time. And it was just before the pandemic. We were like, oh, we got to do something with our spare time because we've got no hobbies. So he wanted to make stuff. I wanted to talk about music. So we came up with this idea, which was essentially just interviewing musicians in the back of my car. It was meant to be a bit memey. But it is, well, I do appreciate that it's a bit stupid that it's just a tiny yellow car. But yeah, it's like, way. It ended up, actually got really well received. And like, we started basically just sending around emails to random Welsh bands that we knew. And word spread pretty quick. And yeah, it's just kind of gone from there, really.
I'm so glad you started this. It's so cool. If you haven't seen Seatbelt Sessions, you should definitely check it out.
Thank you. Yeah.
Daves, what about you?
For me, well, I always loved radio. Like, I studied that in A-level and then went and did the course here, media production in like 2015, 2016. But then I kind of fell out of it because I was focused on DJing. And then the Panny D hit, and I was like, I've got nothing to do in my life. I should really like hit some people up and just like invest in like the Welsh music scene. Because I was like, there's nothing else to do. I'm just going to learn more about the Welsh pop scene. So then I just started like DMing people, being like, oh, when this is over, like, shall we do like a radio show? I'd love to interview you. And then, yeah, when radio stations opened back up then last year, I started a radio show in Radio Cardiff, and just, yeah, got artists on, interviewed them, like, delved into their music, and just like discovered it through that, really.
It's really interesting, actually, how the pandemic for you guys like started there. I think it's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there are any misconceptions about your field? Like, for example, all people that do radio are really confident, or all photographers get to go to free shows all the time.
I mean, we do get to go to free shows. I also have to work there, so I don't really know about misconceptions with photographers. Other than, yeah, getting into shows for free.
Yeah. What about you? Is there anything?
I think what you said about, like, because I guess what I do and what you do, Dave, is quite similar in terms of, like, presenting and stuff.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, the confidence thing is a big deal. Like, I still get nervous. It sounds like I don't because I just talk absolute rubbish in front of whoever, but, like, you still do get nervous to, like, you know, come up with questions, especially if it's, like, musicians that you think are really talented as well. You don't want to embarrass yourself in front of them, which I have many times. So it's just that kind of, just getting over that, really.
I remember, so we met, Rachel and I met in Wrexham, and we just spoke about this just before coming on. But as an example of like saying something stupid to someone you've just met and you kind of look up to, I was like, oh, so lovely to meet you. We should definitely go and do some laser tag. I've never done really laser tag. I've done it twice in my life. I don't know why that came out of me. I was like, yeah, sure. So I kind of get what you mean when you meet someone that you're a bit like,
absolutely
starstruck by, if you will.
Well, I'm flattered.
I know.
I'm both flattered and confused.
So, what's something that you wish you knew when you were starting out? Daves, we'll start with you.
Ooh. To just go with your instincts, like, and not worry about, like, maybe like other people's, like, preconceptions of you, or like, you know, just, and judgment and stuff like that. Like, if you just want to do something, if you're passionate about something, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like easier said than done, but like, at the end of the day, you just gotta live for you. And you gotta do what's best for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just do that. Yeah.
It's a really good bit of advice. Anything from you, Rachel?
I agree, really. And don't feel like you have to have the whole plan laid out, because I certainly never did and still don't.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where if an opportunity arises, take it, because you'll think back otherwise and think, definitely should have done that.
Yeah. Anything, Beth?
I would kind of say the same thing, and like, don't be afraid to like message people. I always looked at people on like Instagram and was like, oh, I can never message that person because they have so many followers or something. But most of the time, they will actually reply, and they're like really nice, and you might make a new friend from it. So reach out to the people that are your idols, and like they might just reply. You never know.
People tend to be flattered as well. Like,
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like a lot of opportunities I've had is just from sending a message.
Yeah.
And people also love to talk about themselves as well. So if you are for an interview, like that's lovely. So an interview, people tend to be really interested in like telling you everything, because like kind of gives you that Miley Cyrus stardom moment, doesn't it?
Yeah,
tell everyone about your life.
Double life.
Yeah. So spill the tea then. What is the worst thing about what you do? Daves?
See, I'm like biting my tongue now because I'm like not getting paid. But that's literally like, that's like only like little things, like especially like when you're starting out. But like just persevere through that, because like you will then start to get the paid opportunities. Like the more you upskill and the more you like develop everything, like you will start to get paid then. Like, and you'll find like all these things cropping up. I feel like I strayed from the question though.
No, no.
But just spill the tea. Oh, I feel like I can be here for days.
I actually don't really have that much, not to say, I mean, there's a lot of people in this room that I've actually worked with on seatbelt sessions, and everyone's been lovely, so I actually can't, that sounds like I'm just trying to be nice on purpose, but I am quite nice. But yeah, like, there's not really anything negative that from my perspective anyway, that I've come across massively. I think the something, I don't know, yeah, you know what, everyone's nice, no tea to spill.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Sounds like I was biting my tongue at the end.
She'll tell me later.
Yeah, tell you later.
I guess like not really tea, but how male dominated the music industry is. I still struggle with like, I've been doing this for years now, and I still struggle sometimes with, you know, being a woman in the music industry. Sometimes I get stopped at shows, even though I've got like a AAA pass on me.
Yeah.
It's always security every time. Sometimes bands don't want to take you on tour and stuff like that because you're a woman.
Yeah.
So that's the only tea I have to spill, I guess. But like,
It's hot tea as well, isn't it?
yeah, and it's still like a prevalent thing in the music industry, I would say, and like something that needs to change. And like, I actively speak out about like when I face issues in venues, and that it's not okay because it's an ongoing issue, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Going back to what Rachel and Dabes were saying, people get so scared of reaching out to people, but generally speaking, like Wales is a very friendly place, I think, and the Welsh industry as well. People are really friendly. Like you don't come across a lot of bad blood. I don't.
I think that's the thing, because like with like artists, like when you message them, like they're like buzzing that they actually have their art like seen and like not just like consumed or double tapped. It's like they are like finding out firsthand from a person who's interested in working with them, or a fan or a listener just being like, yeah, like I actually really like your stuff. So like, yeah, most of the time they appreciate the message and they want to talk more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned about being paid, it made me think about learning how to invoice and like what an invoicing system is. Because like as a freelancer, I don't think I ever really got told that until someone was like, send me an invoice, and I was like, what's an
How
invoice?
do I do this?
How do I do that?
Yeah.
So like, I'd say that's a good tip for anyone who wants to start doing freelancing. It's like learn about how to invoice and stuff before the tax man comes and gets you. No, I'm joking. So can you guys think of any resources that helped you in your career? So like, for example, does software stand out to you, or like a book that you read, or like an app or anything like that? Is there anything that like stands out to you that's really helped you do what you do?
Phone notes. Note
Really?
everything. Because I feel like, once you have an idea, like, you can just jot it down then. Because I have like a memory like a sieve, so I'll forget things like so easily, so I'll just note everything.
Yeah.
Notes. That's
What do you use to, because I know because I was listening to some of Dave's stuff on Mixcloud, but how do you produce your show? Like what software do you use for that?
So with the station's software, it's like, it's Myriad or like one of the other ones, like the systems, and I'll just record the show through that.
Right.
And then I'll export it and then cut it on Audacity. So Audacity's another one. I feel like the whole uni is like sponsored by Audacity. Not really, I don't actually know. But like, just in case. But yeah, so Audacity as well, that's another software. And yeah, no, that's probably my two main ones.
What about you, Rachel?
I don't know, it's hard to say. I mean, myself and Liam edit everything we do using Adobe Premiere Pro.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with it.
It always like breaks though. That's what
I was just about to say, you can't go wrong with it, but you can, because it's not that good. But you can't go wrong with it. If you're a student, you can get it very discounted. You have everything from like Photoshop and everything. I do work in post-production and probably get told off for saying that Adobe Premiere Pro is good, because apparently it's not. But yeah, that's what we use. Basically, we've just used the cheapest thing available to us, and it's been all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we've done, really.
I've heard of Da Vinci as
I
well.
was just
Da
about to
Vinci
say
was
that.
yeah.
So good.
Da
Like,
Vinci?
Da
Sorry,
Vinci.
I had to do that. I had to say that, sorry.
For me, I guess, like YouTube. Just like you can find everything out on YouTube. I used to watch there's like a music photographer in America called Adam Elmakeus, and like he used to film his photo shoots and things like that. And I learned so much from just watching him interact with clients and things like that. And also I edit everything on Lightroom, and you can find out everything you need to know on YouTube about Lightroom.
True. YouTube, you can YouTube anything these days, can't you?
Yeah.
Which is really helpful. So this was one I'm quite interested in. So organisation and preparation, which doesn't sound that exciting, but I feel like it gets missed so much. Like scheduling, how do you organise things?
Yeah,
so for you, like...
That's probably another misconception, really.
Yeah.
Is like how much hard work goes into, like, there's so much prep that goes into it. Like, you're like, oh my God, why do I even bother?
Everyone forgets that, and like when I do photo shoots and stuff, people just expect me to turn up with no idea, and I'm like, no, you have to plan these things. Like, it's so important, and it's something that I've learned, I guess, like over my career, that plan everything like as much as you can. Like, yes, there's spontaneity in things, and like if you see a cool shot or something, like definitely get it. But when it comes to like taking press shots of bands and things like that, plan as much as you can. Have a mood board set out. Talk to your clients about like expectation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if they have a complete different idea to what you have in your head, then it's just not gonna give a good end result, I guess.
Yeah.
So like I plan a lot.
How much time does it take you?
Oh, hours. Like
Hours.
That's why like when you come to like pricing yourself and things like that, that's the things that you need to take into consideration. Like all the prep that goes into a photo shoot beforehand, and then like all the editing and stuff. I guess it's a little bit different when it's like live music photography, because you have no idea what's gonna happen unless you're touring with the band. And then I would say listen to their set list on Spotify or something like that. Get to know like where the jump moments are and things, so you have a sort of idea of where you want to be throughout their set, I guess.
Oh, I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's such a good tip to listen beforehand, to like listen for like how it would look on stage, I imagine.
Yeah, totally.
What about you, Rachel? Like talking about prep for, say, an interview and then a session with seatbelt sessions. How long does it take?
Prep for, well, I am, if anyone in this room knows me, knows that I am very off the cuff. Yeah. In terms of the questions, I actually try not to plan too far ahead, because I like to just kind of ask a few to start with, have like an informal chat, find out what they want to talk about. So that's the main thing. Like, that's probably the main bit of advice I would give for like any kind of interview. Yeah. Is I usually go in with about 5 questions stored in my brain, but I say to them beforehand, do you have any music coming out? Do you have any? Basically, run through a quick, too long don't read of the questions I'm going to ask, and then say, is there anything you particularly want to talk about? Usually, try and do them at the start so I remember. Yeah. And oftentimes, the questions I was going to ask just get pushed aside because the interviewee has said something so interesting or something that I think is going to be better anyway. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just focus in on that. I mean, there's been interviews that I've done where I've had about 10 questions ready, and I've thought I've known the band quite well before we started, and then they've said to me, I'm like, oh, I know nothing about you. So I will just ask all these different questions instead. But in terms of like prep for like a series, we love a spreadsheet, just like dates, posting dates, scheduling. Like a lot of our stuff is like very social media based. Instagram is like our main place. So yeah, just kind of have a kind of posting schedule, shooting schedule, let the artist know like as soon as possible. Let's say like try and give them like a month's advance so they know when they're coming, stuff like that. So yeah, try and have it all planned out.
I always say, whenever anyone asks for like tips and stuff like that, I always say Excel is your best friend. Because like even as like a digital contact list of anyone you know, like even all of your if the people in uni, all of your uni class, grab their emails, grab their phone numbers, put everything down. Anyone you meet at a gig that says, oh, I do a bit of music photography, even if it's just a hobby, or oh, I have a couple of friends in bands. Like if you start now, collecting your contact lists. That's what PR is really, isn't it? It's about who, like, because there's always this phrase like it's about who you know, and it can be a little bit, but only if you make those relationships and like meet those people. And networking's a scary word, like, but it is just chatting to people, isn't it? And getting to know people. Yeah. What about you with the radio? So when it comes to prep and stuff, how do you go about planning and prepping for it?
So I'll always make sure like I'll connect to the artist first, like through Instagram or Twitter or something, and then I'd ask them then like just like, would you like be interested in coming on the show, do an interview, like push a single that's coming out or a music video, or like just certain material that they got coming out. And then, yeah, so that, and then with that, then, yeah, I'd like plan all the questions, like I'd do it on notes, like always do your research on the artist as well, like, so like where they're from, like their influences, just like have some like, pre-existing knowledge of your artist before you go into the interview.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like I do my interviews over Zoom, so it's not even like that state of the art, because like I'll pre-record the interview, edit it a little bit, and then I'll check it on air then like a couple of days later.
Yeah.
But like with all that, then that probably takes about like, I'd say 6 hours in total, but I'll spread it across like 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
It's a lot of prep, actually, isn't
Yeah.
it? Even for something like this, like our panel is, 45 minutes long, with the prep that goes into that when you like put it all together. It's quite interesting. So the next question I have is about authenticity. I kind of struggle with it myself, because when I imagined like my presenter self or like my hosting style or whatever, I always imagine I have to be like, hello, I'm Alex, this is Beacon, blah, and be really like pressured of this idea of what I thought I had to be, which I'm still very much working it out. But when it comes to like the internet, for example, this is being streamed. Hello, anyone at home? Hi, Grandma, if you are watching. So social media. How do you cope with putting yourself and your work out there? I know you mentioned earlier something really nice.
Honestly, I'm so chaotic, honestly. I'm like chaotic neutral or like chaotic good. So I did like a TikTok the other day of like me like dressing up before my first set on a Friday, which I do love, but also I'm like, calm down. Like chill a little bit on socials.
Yeah, definitely. It's like authenticity. How do you accept or just be? I think because as someone who watches videos or content of whatever, you can generally tell if someone's like being authentic or if they're kind of not.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, because I feel like you guys especially, I know it's a bit different for you because of the photography side, but it's still authentic in your work.
Yeah.
But like in terms of how you present yourself, is it just something where you're like, right, I've taken the confidence and I'm running with it and that's just me, I'm being authentic? Or is there like a special potion I need to drink that's not tequila?
Oh my gosh, it's definitely... I would say just like ride that like confidence and like motivation like wave. Like if you feel like you've got that energy at the time, like try and like produce something. Like if you want to at the time,
Yeah.
like just ride that wave. Like don't be like too bogged down if like you feel like a show like wasn't as good as it could have been, or like you could have said something differently in terms of like the style or the execution, because like then you just start to get in your head then, and then you start listening to those like evil little voices that you just need to cancel. But it's like so with that, it's just and then with the confidence thing, like it's interesting because with radio, like this is so out of my comfort zone because I don't actually talk in front of people, I talk in front of a mic, so like this is like different in itself, but it's just you just gain confidence as well as you go along with doing things.
Yeah.
Like, and then and just believe in yourself.
Just putting yourself out there and doing stuff.
Yeah.
What about you, Rachel?
I have surrounded myself with people who will tell me to pipe down if I'm showing off too much.
Yeah.
So that's it, really. My cameraman, if I'm doing something that I think is funny, he'll look at me like, and then I'll be like, I'll nip that in the bud, we'll go again.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who's done a session will tell you that I like, there's many things that Liam will say, right, let's film that again because I've said something stupid.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. Like, a teacher in year 8 told me, don't put anything on the internet that you wouldn't show your nan.
Okay.
Oh, too late for me then, jeez.
That's the only advice I would give. Like, everything I have on my Instagram, personally, I would show my nan. She would be confused.
She'd be like, come on, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be confused, but like that's what I mean. I mean that might be stupid advice or advice for a 12-year-old, but like in terms of authenticity, I think that's like a good thing to stick
Good
by
rule
in a
of
way.
thumb.
Yeah.
That is good. So this one's about university. So how did your time at university help you in your career now? Beth, do you want to go first?
Oh, this is a hard one for me because I didn't study photography at uni. So I actually studied music business, which is what you did. Yeah.
What, in this
Yeah,
uni? Did you really?
Yeah, so I did
wow,
a
I didn't
year
know that. I didn't do
in-
my research. I got.
That's all right. I did a year in BIM in Bristol, actually. And it wasn't great.
We've got someone who went to bin.
But then I moved here, thanks to Lucy, wherever she is. I moved back down here then, and yeah, I did music business, which has helped me so much in like the business side of things, obviously.
Yeah.
But I guess like uni as a whole helped me grow as a person and like as a creative, because it gave me so much free time to like go and shoot shows and things like that. But overall, yeah, uni taught me a lot about business, I would say.
Which is helpful, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And like it allowed me to go and tour with artists, which I wanted to do, and I still do at the time.
Yeah.
And like I met a bunch of people here. Like I'm really lucky to have met so many amazing people on my course and things like that that I've stayed friends with, and now do like things like work for a label and stuff like that, and I reach out to them when I need to. But yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. What about you, Rachel? How did your time, because you've just graduated, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Congrats. Rachel's just graduated.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. It's an interesting one because, I mean, I did English and media undergrad, and it wasn't media production either. It was just like all that theory, man. So in terms of like, I graduated undergrad in 2019, and then we started seatbelt sessions early 2020. So I kind of started before I did anything journalism-based in uni at all. So I think to start with, the undergrad just kind of taught me about, like, you know, organisation and keeping on top of things, if you will.
Yeah.
But then I started the Masters in Music Journalism in October last year, and I think that kind of confirmed to me that I was doing the right things that I had already started doing.
Right.
And more than anything taught me, like, about, like, the boring legal side of stuff that you've got to keep in mind when you're doing things. So yeah, that really, keeping myself in check.
It's like the copyright module on the music business course that I recently did. It might have changed since I did it. I graduated last year. It seems like boring, but it's so useful. It crops up so much, like in work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, stuff like that. It's like stuff you don't actually think about off the top of your head.
Even like
It's
PRS
really important,
and stuff like that for musicians. It's like seems boring, and although like sometimes learning things can be a bit boring, but it's so useful as well. So I'd say definitely that would help. What about you, Dave?
Well, uni, it did, to be fair, prepare me for like the working world. Like it's quite interesting, like because thinking about it, like with the opportunities that I've had, like they've often come from like competitions, which sounds really bizarre, but like we're getting into radio, like so working for Capital Radio in the Bay. That's because they were looking for 2 interns to go on air and like fight out between us. Like yeah, it was really random. But and you had to summarise yourself in 120 characters when that was still a thing.
Oh my God.
So I was just like, I'm a bad bee. I don't know, just get me on, just get me on. And like, but so yeah, like as well, like as like the course itself, like helping you, I find that as well, like hopefully I'd like to think like your course mates will look out for you and you look out for each other, and like if you see opportunities, like you'll post it on like your uni Facebook groups. I imagine you have Facebook groups and stuff like that. So like posting them out on there and like finding opportunities through that. But yeah, like we learned about invoicing as well in my course, media production.
Yeah.
And like the facilities as well, like use them, because I'm gutted now, I can't use them anymore.
I was about to say that, like I didn't know about all the facilities that were that here, I guess, that you can utilize, like anything, like I didn't know I could go and hire a photography studio, for example, because I was doing music business, but you can.
Yeah.
And like use them as much as possible.
Yeah, because once you're graduated, that's it then. You're done. Your uni login is expired and you can't come back.
Yeah.
So use the facilities whilst you can, definitely.
That's amazing. Actually, going back to how you did music business.
Yeah.
Because I assumed that you did photography, but look at like where you are now and how successful Bethan is. Bethan didn't have to do a photography degree per se to get there. Even though it's a different degree, it's like it's still interesting.
I'm glad that I did a different degree in some aspects, because in the future, if I wanted to go and work for a label or do something else, like I still have that to fall back on. Also, I feel like I was like, oh, BIM was rubbish, but it wasn't. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. I forgot
There's
it
no
was being
beef with
filmed, and I
BIM.
was like, no beef.
So just one question to wrap it up then. I have so many more, so maybe we have to like do like a radio show or something to finish some more off.
The collab.
I'm looking at you, collab.
Yeah, we'll have a collab.
What do you think, generally, the music journalism community in Wales needs? If I were to answer it, I'd say more people making more things.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Like, what do you think it needs?
I think more women and diversity and more queerness as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just a broader like spectrum of people. I think that's like one of the main things. So just go for it. Just push yourselves, guys, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, diversity for sure.
That's what
yeah.
I was going to say, yeah. More diversity, 100%.
I hope if anyone's thinking of like starting anything today, you just go for it. I started, even how I got this job here, I started a little blog with my friend Dali, brilliant photographer, Dali Polsom, check her out. But we started a little blog together, and that's how I met people who led me here today, and it was just a little blog just talking about bands in Cardiff. So yeah, just you have to start somewhere. Everyone has to start somewhere, and I think I love that little blog now. I even go back and read it, and I'm like, oh, so sweet.
Yeah.
But like, if anyone is like inspired at all to just start something or write something, go for it. I'd say.
Just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Literally.
It doesn't
No,
work, and
yeah.
that's it. And then you move
Just
on
don't
to the
post
next
anything
thing.
you don't want your nan to see.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what they say.
Do we have any questions in our audience for our lovely panellists, or myself, preferably them?
Definitely got 2 from online.
2 from online?
Oh, hello online people.
Connor, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, hello. So we've got a question from YouTube. It's James, and he's asking, is there anything that really annoys music journalists? What should artists do to avoid a bad review?
Oh, I see. Oh, that's like flipping it on its head then. Like the artist now getting in the mind of the artist.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Don't sing badly. Don't write trash lyrics.
Reviews are really hard. Reviews are touchy water because people can be really... Like, I've tended, maybe I'm a coward, but I tend to avoid writing reviews.
Yeah.
That isn't where where my passion really is in journalism. But what would you say? Be on time, be nice, like...
Be nice is the main thing,
Yeah.
for sure. I think with, like you said, review writing is hard.
It's hardcore. I know actually Tate from Rock State's in the audience. She's hardcore music journalist, definitely. Shout out to Rock State. Maybe Tate in the audience can give an answer there as well. But yeah, I'd say just generally just be on time if you can. If you are meeting someone, be friendly.
And going back to the thing earlier, be authentic. There's no point like trying to put on this like facade for like journalists. Like they'll see right through it. They interview so many people that like they'll just think you're not a nice person. Then if you're trying to be something that you're not, and like acting
like what are you hiding?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And be respectful as well. I feel that's another one.
To the venue as well as venue. I say that because from a promoting point of view.
Yeah.
Like to the venue, to the bar staff, to whoever is in. Maybe you met them in a cafe and you're having a coffee and you're like talking about your new album coming out or whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just being a nice human, really. I
think with James though, James asking, I feel like you're already on the right track because if you're conscious of it, then I'm sure you're fine.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And so another one from YouTube. This one comes from Laura. What's the best way of getting into music journalism for those who haven't studied journalism before?
Oh, well, I didn't study. Sorry.
No, go on.
No, you.
I just say, just do it. Just like start a blog. If you can't end up writing for a blog or something, or can't get photo passes or something, start that thing yourself. Start a music magazine or start a radio show and like make those opportunities for yourself, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Because I didn't study journalism, and yet I'm here now on this panel. So I'm just like, just go for it. Like, push yourself, and like again, make opportunities for yourself as well. I feel like a lot of work comes from manifesting and working towards your own goals. So yeah,
I think that is the only thing. Just start doing it. I mean, that's what we did, and it's worked out quite well. But also, there's so many opportunities, like particularly in Wales, South Wales, that you can start writing for magazines and stuff. There's loads of things. Like, I mean, Now Magazine is a magazine that I've done some writing for, and I know there's a couple of people here who've done some writing for. They have a music blog. It's just like an arts magazine you can submit to. There's so many things like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to have written before. Just start submitting to places, and vast majority of the time, your stuff will be good enough to be accepted. So
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'd definitely say just start a blog.
yeah,
That's how I started, and we mentioned it earlier. Writing's probably the easiest one to go into straight away,
without a
because
doubt.
you're not being filmed or you're not being broadcast live or anything like that. So I'd say writing is like a quite nice way to start. Is there any other questions from anyone? Don't all jump at once. Maybe we've answered everything.
I always used to be these people that would come to watch these talks and like never ask a question and be like, damn, I should have asked that
Well,
question.
we all will be around. I won't, because I have a show
catch
to
up.
go and do sound check for, which I should plug actually. After this, so stay here until like 9ish, and then 9ish come to Porter's, because there's going to be a show if you want to come. No pressure. Yeah. 2 more? Go on, hit me, Rich. Or don't hit me.
Yeah, no, so we've got one. So we've got a question here on YouTube, and it's asking, is there a problem with access to journalism, and in specifically music? Is there a problem with access?
kind of similar to what I said in the last answer. I don't think so. I think there needs to be more in terms of diversity, as we said before.
Yeah,
There
like,
needs to be more in terms of like magazines and companies accepting
it's
more
in-
diverse
But
submissions.
I'd say
Yeah.
like now it's more accessible than ever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you want to find out someone's email, you can literally Google it and it'll probably come up. If you want to start a blog, the world's at your fingertips. Do you know what I mean? Like it was so much harder back in the day to like submit to magazines and stuff like that. And I would say it's more accessible than ever now.
Yeah, just use your tools, like your socials, like all that. Like you can DM, you can just tweet out, and so I find it will be quite easy to access.
I've actually
yeah.
found it easier within the pandemic to reach out to people to interview.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially with Zoom and stuff. I mean, I interviewed Michelle McManus, winner of Pop Idol 2003, over Zoom.
Wow.
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will.
Like, I just literally emailed her and was like, can I chat to you over Zoom? And she was like, yeah. And she was a lovely woman.
Oh,
So, I mean,
amazing.
it is just easy to reach out and talk
Yeah.
to people over Zoom. Like, especially now, everyone's bored.
Yeah. I think with the Zoom thing, at the start I was really hesitant. I was like, no, the digital world is taking
Yeah.
over. But actually, you end up being put in a room with people that you'd never usually meet, whether it's
Yeah,
because they're
without
from North Wales or London or wherever.
Yeah.
You get put into a digital room, and it's like,
It's so
changed the
convenient.
game completely.
Yeah.
Is there one last question we've got?
Yeah, we do. So this one comes from Emma Way on YouTube, and she's asking, what sort of people should you be sending your journalism portfolio to early in your career?
Early. I feel like there's a bit of lecture, just like looking at all the content out of them, and like get them to like message people, and like if you know like, any industry folk as well, to like get them to help you out as well, because it's a who you know world, and it's definitely a contacts-based world. So yeah, anyone who's like in the industry that you know can help you with that, definitely like go through that.
In terms of like photography, I guess, like send it out to magazines and stuff. Like, as I was saying earlier, the world is your oyster right now, like on the internet. So there's no harm in sending a nice, polite email introducing yourself to like press or something if you want to work for a band, or like a magazine if you want to shoot for them or something like that. Like the worst they can say is no, and if they say no, you have that contact for the future and you can reach out to them again when you've built your portfolio up or something like that.
Yeah, without doubt. I would argue everyone, just send it to everyone.
Yeah.
Some people will say no, but then some people might say yes.
Yeah.
I reckon like Twitter has got like more like industry, from my perception anyway, more like industry people on it.
100%.
Yeah,
Very
would you
journo
say?
friendly.
Journalist
like there's
friendly,
always
yeah.
like hashtag journo request, which I always see, and I'm like going through like the threads, just stalking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon also a good one would be like, look at in your local area or wherever, who runs the venues. Look at like who you see usually taking photos at gigs or writing for gigs. And do you know what? Something quite sneaky to do is look at who they follow, and look through who they're following and follow them yourself. Make those connections yourself. And I think that's quite a good starting block. Just try and like map out your local scene or your local area and kind of the people that you need to be kind of like keeping
Yeah.
an eye on.
But also, just don't be afraid to go up to them and be like, "Hi, I'm blah blah.
Yeah.
I really like your work or your radio show
Yeah.
or whatever."
Yeah.
And start a connection that way. I've met so many people through doing that. And
Yeah.
everyone should do it.
Amazing. What a nice note to end on. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening so nicely. Thank you to our panellists as well.
Thanks.
Stick around for the
Thanks.
next couple panels and the show later, and then come to Porters afterwards. I know you. Thank you. Well done, everyone.
Oh, wait. My mic's still on.
Do we
That was
get out?
great. Oh, God, we're still
Thanks.
on.
Thank you.
Should we walk away
Thank
now?
you, everyone.
We should.
That was brilliant.
Hello. Thank you, everyone, for quieting down so quickly. I thought I'd have to shout, and I was a bit intimidated, so thank you. But welcome back, everybody. Did you enjoy the first panel? Thank you once again to our host, Alexandra Jones, and our panellists, Bethan, Dabes, and Rachel. So, of course, can we just have a final round of applause for them? They're absolutely brilliant. And, of course, as you heard at the end there, we're, of course, asking a few questions. But if you just want to get involved, say hello, then please, by all means, do. If you're enjoying yourself, please feel free to join the conversation online and tag at Beacons Cymru and at USW_music on your Instagram stories, tweets, Facebook posts, and tag Summit. You know the score. Right, straight into our next panel. This is powered by USW BA in Popular and Commercial Music. It's Redressing the Balance, Women in the Welsh music industry. So please bring once again that lovely warm applause for your host, Yasmin Davis.
Hello, everybody. How are we? Hey! Thank you. Well, just to let you all know, this panel is sponsored by USW Popular and Commercial course. With an emphasis on original work, USW Popular and Commercial Music course will teach you how to collaborate with your fellow students in performance, songwriting, and production. Recent students and graduates celebrate prestigious awards, including Holly Singer, who was announced as the winner of the Welsh Music Prize in 2019 with her band Adwaith. Ooh, wow, right? And then David Newington, aka Boy Azuga, in 2018. Oh, amazing, thank you. All right, so look at these amazing faces that we have today. Just to let you know, I am Yasmin Davis. I do a little bit of work for Beacons. I did some young consultant work in prep for Summit happening later this year. I'm doing a research and development project as well with them about women in the industry, so this is helping towards that. And a little bit about me outside of Beacons. I'm a musician, a songwriter, and a USW alumni as well. So that's me. Who are you guys? Were you going to tell me a little bit about yourselves individually?
Yeah. So I'm Larry. I've been a singer-songwriter for about 8 years, and I also set up a co-writing group for women called Siren with Naomi Ray, who also went to USW, so we were here together. We set up that group a couple of years ago, and we've done writing camps, and I say camps, we didn't really stay over. But we did like writing camps here, and done a few in Swansea and in Newport and different workshops and events. I also founded and now co-run Monday Media, which is a PR company, and we do marketing and PR for young artists.
Amazing.
So that's kind of everything I do.
Thank you, Illyria. And you, Kristen?
I work for Tramsheds, The Globe, do pretty much anything from venue repping, show repping. Show advancing is my kind of main thing that I do. Also a bit of promotion on the side. If you've heard of local sessions, then I'm kind of the face behind it. And yeah,
Don't sell yourself short there, because the local sessions are amazing. If you haven't had a chance to go check them out, you absolutely should when they're up and running again. And Asha, what about you?
It's either going to sound like I can't decide what I do or that I'm really successful. It's both.
Yes.
Let's just start with this week, shall we?
Go
I'll start
on,
there.
girl.
So this week I signed another modelling deal with my agency. So
Congratulations.
this morning I was modelling, and then I got a little message off you to be like, come and talk here. So I also speak at events. I studied songwriting at a different uni, but a lot of your tutors cross over in this course.
Mm-hmm.
Not this course, but the course that runs here.
Yes.
Wow.
The songwriting and production at
Coming out
USW.
my brain. I do a lot of acting. I've been featured on Netflix. I now do comedy theatre. That's my latest
It doesn't end.
thing someone paid me to do. And, and I'm part of a collective called Ladies of Rage, and I do a lot of consulting and just general arts work, marketing, events, production, singing for people.
Amazing, a bit of everything, and you are a very talented singer
Too
as
many
well.
pies, not enough fingers.
Which is such a good way to be these days, don't you think? Like, as you can tell, everybody on the sofas here has a lot of different things happening all at once. So kind of being a freelancer or having several roles is something that I think is becoming more normalized within our industry at the moment. I don't think there's any one avenue to success anymore. I think it's pick as many as you want and as many as you can reasonably balance, and then go for it, right?
No,
yeah?
for sure.
Okay, amazing. Well, you are all here because I wanted to ask women in the industry from different backgrounds within different roles to see how you're doing, what it's like out there for us at the moment. Us women, we're powering through, right? We're trying our best. And I know you guys are all successful at what you do. So what or who inspired you to choose a role in the industry that you're in at the moment? And like, how important do you think role models are, if you have any? Who wants to go first?
To be honest, then I graduated this uni in 2018, and as most of fresh graduates, I didn't have a slightest clue to which direction I wanted to kind of get into. Disclaimer, still don't know. Been doing that for a while now, still don't know, so that's fine. I didn't really have like a specific role model, I guess. I just my aim was to kind of figure out, because I've always known that I wanted to work in the music. So my aim was to kind of figure out what I actually wanted to do. And after I started working for Tramsheds, then I kind of knew that live music was the direction I wanted to go into.
Mm-hmm. And there was never a temptation to pick up a guitar or a microphone?
Well, let's not go there. I tried. Keys. And I was like, my name is Kristen Keys, so that would be quite cool as well. But no, let's not go there.
Well, that's amazing, though. I think sometimes people, when you hear, I want to work in the music industry, they assume that you mean you want to perform, you want to play. But there's so much more to the industry that you can get involved with. So
Absolutely.
As someone like yourself being like, I've come out of uni, I don't know what I want to do. How about I just consider something within a venue and see where that gets me? And clearly you're doing quite well at the moment, running your own events out of Tramshed, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Humble. What about everybody else on the panel? Asha? Any role models or any inspiration that kind of saw you in the roles that you are now, doing the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, I was really lucky growing up to have a lot of female mentors who took me under their wing, and I didn't realise how blessed that was and how rare that was to have met so many sort of like successful, chilling, really cool women when I was a kid, until I got to uni and I read the statistics about like PRS and the lack of women in music, and especially the lack of women in songwriting and just so many different things. And then I was like, oh wow, like the only people I've ever really had teach me were women. So that was really interesting to me. But then in like the past 4 years, I've had a lot of really great mentors and people who have just come up in the jobs before me. So when I was like interning under them, or just like going to gigs and things, and people have just been like really helpful. And now I work with all of them. But like all the people who used to be like my idols like 4 years ago, and I'd be like, wow, they're so cool. Like now I can be like, that's my mate.
Yeah.
That's my mate.
Do you think that's important then, I guess, like seeing someone in a job or in a role that you want to do or be like, and then, introducing yourself. We talked in the last panel a little bit about like the importance of reaching out to people and putting yourself in someone's viewpoint and saying, hi, I'm here, I'd like to do what you're doing. How can I do that? Or how can I, get involved?
Yeah.
Like that's helped you actually get to the same level as those people now?
I think it was really important to be in Cardiff, because I didn't live in Cardiff, and I feel like where I was quite like a small town, and I feel like that story, I've heard it a lot now from a lot of artists who also have moved to Cardiff and gone like, where I live, like there's nothing like this. So until I was actually in front of those people, I couldn't have seen how it could be done. I felt very stuck where I was, and that's why I feel like a late bloomer in my career, because I feel like my career is only like 4 years old, so I'm basically a toddler. Whereas I'm watching people who've spent decades like formulating what they're doing, and it's really interesting to me. I think one really important thing about role models is having role models who look like you or sound like you. And that was something I really struggled with growing up, because I grew up in a very white like upper middle class area, maybe not with that experience myself. So,
Of course.
And it was very isolating for me. Whereas when I came to Cardiff, I think it's like 30% of the people of colour that are in Wales at all live in Cardiff.
Wow.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Or is it 70%? I'm not good at maths. No one quote me on that. But my point being is that like it wasn't until I actually got to Cardiff that I'd had like black mentors.
Right.
So although I'd had female mentors, I hadn't had black mentors, and I hadn't seen it from that perspective. So although I was very, very lucky, I feel even luckier now.
Of
And
course.
it's only now I'm starting to like pass it back on, and I get to do that and give it back to people and see younger people who get really excited to meet me because they're still in school having the exact same problems and the exact same difficulties that I saw. I don't want to admit how many years ago, but a long time. Like, yeah.
Well, I think it is amazing to hear that you're able to give something back in the same way that it was, kind of gifted and given to you. And the importance of seeing yourself, it doesn't matter that it isn't actually you, but you can see yourself in other people, right, sometimes. So it's like nice to have that kind of support that doesn't have to be a direct support. It's just somebody taking up space that looks like you or sounds like you said. And Illyria, have you got anybody or anything that raised you up?
Yeah, I was sort of thinking, because then when me and Naomi got together to start Siren, we were inspired by Violet Skies, who's an amazing artist. I think she now lives in LA.
Of
but
course.
She's from Chepstow, and she'd set up these like amazing writing camps for like, women who were getting Grammy Awards and like really, really top people. And we thought it's really cool that people can do these writing camps, and there's always sort of like, I don't know if it's an audition process, but like an application process to get into them, and it is quite hard. And there's no sort of low level unless you do a course at USW, of course. There's no like opportunities to collaborate with other people. So we wanted to create like a grassroots version of that and bring people to give them experience and the confidence to go into writing sessions and to like not be afraid to just sort of go in and be like, no, I've done this before, I know what I'm doing.
So that's amazing to see somebody doing something that has kind of targeted a problem area and then saying, well, that's a problem area where I'm from too. Yeah. And taking that on yourself is absolutely amazing. I mean, I've been lucky to follow Siren a long time, and same with Ladies of Rage, as someone who is in rock, is kind of an underrepresented like genre as well, and songwriting especially. There's just not enough of us in the producing, songwriting, kind of creative roles, that contribute to the overall sound of something. And actually, Illyria and Asha, both of you in those music communities that focus on uplifting women in Cardiff and Wales, like, could you share how involved you are in those? Obviously, Illyria, you've helped build this, and Asha, I know you have some really strong ties, and you've actually brought other people in for Ladies of Rage, right? Yeah. So how important is having female spaces to help kind of push your career forward or help support you?
Larry's just reminded me of a really important quote that we like to exchange again and again sometimes when we forget ourselves and get a lot of imposter syndrome. Because I'm not even sure sometimes if it's actually that there isn't enough women that are there to take up the space, so much as if there isn't enough women who are there saying that they deserve that space. Mm. So it's a case of like Violet Skies once said to us, yeah, you get 17-year-old boys producing from their bedroom telling you that they're producers, and they've probably been doing it like 3 months. You get women who've been on stage for like 4 years and they go, oh yeah, sometimes I sing, Yeah. And then, they might not tell you that they actually produce and they act and they sing and maybe they even do their own photography and things like that. Because we've been taught to sort of make ourselves smaller and maybe not tell people about what we do. So I think it's really important. One of the things that those spaces that Siren and Ladies of Rage created, because it started around the same time. Yeah, literally, they started around the same time. They're both about 3 or 4 years old. Mm-hmm. Was that they created a safe space for you to sort of see each other and hang out with each other, and also not have the overbearing influence and sometimes very intimidating spaces that can be very male-dominated. Because I'm not anti-hanging out with men, but there is a difference between hanging out with the boys all emceeing on the mics and then having that space to be feminine. I mean, we have non-binary people in our collective as well, Lots of them, in fact, but like just that space to feel a lot safer about what you want to say, or just not wear a bra to the jam. Like,
Yeah.
it feels so much easier not wearing a bra around the girls and the gang.
Just
and if I
having
went
the
to a
freedom,
different thing.
yeah.
Yeah, just little things like that you wouldn't think about, or walking and going, I'm bloated because I got my period. Like, I can't believe I just said that on live. But like, my point is, like, it's just little things like that that are really important. And also for me, again, I don't think I'd met so many women who'd, although I'd had the mentors, hadn't met so many women who just did really cool things, like really, really cool things. I had been in a boys' club for a really long time.
It's hard to see yourself get out of that, but it must be really empowering to like be in those spaces, like you said, and not only with other women, but with non-binary people and queer people who feel safe within women's spaces, you know?
It's
if they
very
identify
healing,
like that.
especially if you grew up in a small town with a small town mentality, to meet a lot of people who are really colourful and really out there and really ambitious and really driven, or maybe not, and then you can help each other get to that point.
Yeah.
And like grow together and hold hands and go, oh, I've got that trauma, you've got that trauma. Cool. Let's be traumatized together. Like there's something in that. There is something in that. Like
there is power in pain, essentially. And
there's
I think
power in sharing your pain.
Sharing the pain is where that power lies, and expressing it to one another and having other people understand that you have the same needs, you have the same issues, you know, you come from a similar kind of
experience. And it wasn't just
experience.
you on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And Illyria, it must be the same with songwriting. I mean, I guess Kristen as well, you know, I don't know if there's any kind of society or community that exists for people who don't necessarily create music or are part of the creative process but are in the business. But I guess, like, why do you think that is? You know, is it because there's not many women doing these kinds of roles, or would you say it's because maybe nobody's thought to do it yet?
I guess it's a bit of both. Like, I think 90% of the time when I walk in the venue and I meet the touring party, I find myself being the only female working in the venue that day. And, you know, sometimes there are situations where I get like prejudged and come across these sort of like not ideal situations. There are things out there, like even like Instagram accounts that I follow. Few to mention are Women in Control, Women Connect, Amplify Her Voice, She Said .so, which really, they do such a like rewarding job in kind of like raising awareness, creating these opportunities for female, like organizing networking events, sort of masterclasses, providing support and help. And I find even that has helped. Or even, you know, when I have met a female tour manager, I've been like, oh my God, a female.
Yeah.
Like, and again, like the sharing the experience, kind of talking about what I've been through, what they've been through, maybe, has really, really helped us to connect and kind of share it all and go like grow from it. I find it really like powerful because next time, you know, I may know how to maybe react to that sort of in that situation when maybe I used to be this sort of like hiding behind and be like kind of whatever. But then now I'm brave enough to kind of stand up for myself, and I think it's really, really, really important to be able to stand up for yourself and speak out.
Of course, I think that's such a thing. Like, Asha, like you were saying, we do feel like sometimes we have to minimize ourselves and, you know, kind of say, oh, well, I feel uncomfortable because this space doesn't seem like it's built for me, because nothing was built with us in mind, sadly.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's a difficult thing to walk in and be like, no, I'm here and I'm going to take up my space and I'm a professional and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You can't mansplain something to me that I already know. You know, the amount of times that happens in venues across the board, or like anything you might want to be a part of, songwriting sessions, anything. You know, I think having someone that, like you said, has a shared experience at the same viewpoint, like the same lens of looking through the world, is such an empowering thing. And it's sadly sometimes quite rare, like in roles like yourself. With you being a venue rep, promoter, and show advancer, like you wearing many different hats at the moment, you know, can you share like what your role entails, like maybe a day in the life of Kristen in Tramshed and the Globe, as well as maybe any advice to anybody looking to get into similar kinds of work?
My days. I pretty much, whenever anyone asks me, like, Kristen, what do you do? I try to keep it really short, really simple, but I just tend to, yeah, it never happens. So
don't minimize, girl. Tell us
give me a chance, right. So, so what I do, I work for a promoter that is actually based in Bristol. They're called TGMJR. They operate in 2 venues in Cardiff, in Tramshed and the Globe. And I am responsible for hiring shows. That means that if anyone, like a different promoter to TGMJR, like Live Nation, wants to hire Tramshed, then I'm responsible for that. So I'm involved with anything before shows. As soon as the show gets approved, it's being handed over to me. I deal with anything like logistical planning, sort of just pretty much just making sure that the venue knows what's about to happen, what kind of show we're expecting, what kind of crowd we're expecting. During the day, when the show goes ahead, I'm just there to just make sure everyone's happy, the show runs, and just kind of again being the contact person between the band, the venue, and even the city, you know, in some cases. And after the show, I make sure that the show is settled, all the paperwork's done for it, just kind of close the book, and that's about it.
That's amazing. I mean, I know I've been lucky to do an event which you have been a part of. I did a Foxify event and it was absolutely amazing. Everything ran super duper smooth. So if you ever need an event run, hello Kristen, I will be calling you, and everybody else should as well.
Advice-wise, I just forgot.
Yeah, advice, yeah. Sure.
Just go for it. That's my advice. Just, there's nothing stopping you, as the previous panelists said as well. Just communicate, network, anything. Just find a direction you want to go into. Do your research, see who the local people are, who you should get in touch with. I did a lot of sort of like work shadowing before. I was just bothering everyone in Tramshed. It's like, can I do this? Can I do that? And then they kind of noticed me and were like, and then this kind of position became available, and they were like, we've got that person.
That's amazing.
And obviously, I'll be here after if anyone's got any questions or wants to even come and shadow me, you know?
That is a good point. Obviously, everybody on the panels will be available to have a little chat to afterwards. If there's anybody that you're thinking, I want to ask that person a question, that's what we're all here for, so please do. Illyri, now, I've heard that you're working on a song at the moment with 2 female producers. Now, one of the areas of the industry that is really lacking female presence is at the production and tech-based roles. Those kinds of roles are just not being occupied by women. In fact, only 2% of producers were women in the Billboard Hot 100 in 2020, according to a study called the Annenberg study. Really cool study, you should check it out, about women's occupying space and some of the issues that kind of deter us from these roles. But how important is it for you to work with women on this new song that you've written called Good for a Girl?
Well, I kind of, obviously by the title and talking about it and working with Siren, it obviously had to be a female producer. So I've been working with an amazing producer who lives in Cardiff. He's called Lee, and I've been working with him for years. But I was like, this song needs a female producer, obviously, because I'm just defeating the whole point of the song if I don't do that. So I've got 2 that I'm working with on different tracks, but the one who recorded this lives in London. So I travelled up to her, and she lived 5 minutes from my sister, which was really helpful. But I travelled up to her, and just the experience of working with, so she's called Katie Ray, and then I've been working with Millie Blooms, who lives in Monmouth.
I know Millie, yeah.
The experience is completely different, and I hadn't really thought of that before, working on a track with a woman, a producer, and just for that song in particular, it was important that they could relate to the experiences and have like singing notes and, you should say it like this because that's like, I know what you mean by that. And, or like the emphasis should be on this word because I know exactly the point that you're trying to make with that line.
So and with the kind of topic, Good for a Girl, what is the topic generally? Because obviously you're saying there should be certain emphasis, there should be words that should be pulled out, you know, and having a woman there, like what is the song about really?
So the song is about various experiences that and I'm assuming a lot of us have had working in the industry, and in any industry, honestly. It's not just music. It's sports.
It's a problem everywhere, people.
It's everywhere. It's in everything. And it's sort of focused on the music industry, and there's sections talking about live events, so like festival lineups. You know, there's those posters that come out every year, and people go, oh, if you took all the men off this, there'd be 3 people on it, and it's crap. And also in production roles and things like that, and just like the generic view of women, I think, in the world. Like I've been finishing reading Women Don't Know You Pretty by Florence Given, I want to say. But I've just finished reading that, and then it's like men focusing on things on stage, like, oh, you looked really pretty up there. It's like, cool, I just smashed a set, and is that not what the point of that was?
You're focusing on the aesthetics instead of the actual work. You know?
Yeah, so like I've come off stage and been like, oh, your hair's so nice. I'm like, cool.
No mention of me, you know, getting a fiddle out and playing that whilst I played harmonica or something crazy, you know, it's like...
Yeah, it's that, or
what
like
does it take
sing.
to impress these
men?
Yeah,
so that's it, and it's just that view and sort of twisting that, and all the whole line "good for a girl" being like, oh, just a girlie, not just good.
Yeah,
so
okay, so that's the such a
it.
good song title, like... I know...
I'll send you out.
I can't wait to get that on the low. But I think what I found in my experience as well, and it seems like we all have, is that we are kind of told these lies, I guess, of like, don't take too much space, like, don't put yourself forward, you know, don't think of yourself positively, because that's a big problem for all of us.
Yeah, I think being humble is such I mean, it's... A lot of people probably find it hard, but it's such a feminine thing to be like, oh, I don't do that much, I'm not that important, I don't do, like, and I do that all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, trying not to.
But there's
and apologising and things.
There's now there's the thing. Apologising. We apologise profusely for just existing sometimes. And it's not really fair to us because it takes away from everything that we have to contribute and everything that we can, you know, create and be involved in, like whether that's like a logistical mission for you on a day of something, or whether that's creating a project or marketing some kind of event, you know, it could be anything. And we're always taught to stay humble, you know, you know, the amount of times that, you know, you've been given a compliment maybe, and you say thank you, and they go, oh, all right. You already know, do you?
Yeah.
We do.
Oh, yeah. We are aware.
That's okay.
Fully. So, like, other than, like, representation and kind of, you know, having us exist in these spaces, what other issues do you feel, as women, you have had to overcome or maybe face, maybe in Wales in particular, or even in Cardiff?
I think confidence is a massive thing, and what we did with the Siren sessions, we wanted to have like a chance for people to start recording and using things like Logic or Pro Tools, or even like, you know, whatever systems GarageBand like they had available to them, and being in a space that was okay to get it wrong without having someone go, oh, I'll do it for you, don't worry, like you obviously don't know what you're doing. And like, yeah, okay, you might not know what you're doing because it's your first day giving it a go, but having that safe space to A, give things a go, and B, to see other women doing those things just shows you that you can. And you know, how often do you turn up to a venue and there's a sound guy, and it's always a guy.
I mean, yeah,
like,
I mean, it
really,
literally
really
is sound
is.
guy. I never think to say sound girl or sound woman, you know what I mean?
I get so excited, just like when you said earlier, like a female manager.
Yeah.
I've done that on sets before. I've been like, this woman introduces herself and she's like, oh yeah, I'm the director, by the way. And I'm like, wow! I get so gassed. And people would just be looking at you, but they don't get it, because I realised that in that moment that she's probably had to work twice as hard, maybe even 3 times as hard as her male counterparts to get to that position. So I'm really excited for her.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then don't even get me started on like the numbers in queer. So like,
oh, yeah.
we'll just not go down that path today. Maybe we will. But my point is, yeah, like that's the bit that gets me really excited these days is true. You turn up and you're like, oh my gosh, you do sound. Wow, you're so cool.
Yeah.
Raising
raising other women up and being like, you're amazing. Like,
yeah.
I don't think you know. The amount of times I've sat to someone and been like, you don't even know how amazing you are for just being you and doing you. You what I mean? Like, you're just doing what you want to do, not what you feel like you have to do or what you've been told to do, which I think is the hardest thing sometimes to overcome. Do you think there's anything, Kristen, like in your kind of more, obviously less in the creative sector necessarily, but live events, you know, like you said, there's not a lot of women, but are there other issues you find sometimes? Like, are you treated well sometimes? Is there, you know, language that goes over your head that sometimes men use sports references or something else where you're like, okay, yeah, I know you maybe are assuming that everybody's going to get that because everybody's had a previous conversation about basketball this evening, which I wasn't a part of, or, you know, something that maybe makes you feel like there's missing.
That's a good question.
I tried to curate them well. I'm not going to lie, I really did spend some time on these questions.
Can I add to the question?
Yeah, go ahead, what I think.
Do you ever get people who just assume you're not who you're meant to, like who you are in your role?
Oh, absolutely. So literally 2 days ago, I walked to the venue to introduce myself to a tour manager who I'd never met in my life before. And he went, hi, my name's Kristen. And he went, oh, a lady. I was like, yeah, it's
a lady.
Yeah, I was like,
we exist. Shock, surprise.
And I was like, is that a problem? And he was like, no, I just wasn't expecting you. But I was like, well, that does not even cross my mind. Like, if I meet you, I'm not going to be like, oh, an old man. like, what are you doing here? Why aren't you with your grandkids? Like, I do tend to, like, it is some sort of, like, a type that when you come across. So I feel like younger generation we are more aware of it. We are, like, all cheering for other women. And even, like male our age, they're like, yes, going for it.
But
it's that type. I'm not saying it out loud in case there's any in that age and, you know, gender in this room, but yeah, it
that
can
brand
be a thing.
of men.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. But the truth is, like, no one should ever be anxious about going to work and being like, oh, what are these people going to be like? How they're going to treat me? What is this day going to be like? Because, you know, it can go two ways. It can be an incredible day, or someone can literally ruin your day just like that because of they.
Really easily.
You know, and sometimes, like, sadly, it does take a male manager from Tramshed to go and like do like the second round of introduction, and then they're fine.
Yeah.
It's just kind of because a woman is greeting them, they're like, oh, what's going on? Or they're like assuming that I know nothing about technical things. Yeah. They're like, oh,
you're not gonna know
you know,
what you're doing.
where is the sound guy? Like, I was like, yeah, but why are you assuming that I don't know anything? Like, I work for this venue. I know this venue really, really well. And another thing, I cannot stand. I mean, like, I'm on a rant now.
No, this is open the floor up. Open the floor up.
It's like when I meet these people and they're like, "You okay, darling? You okay, sweet?" I'm like, no, it's Kristen. Like, I've got a name. Who gave you the permission to sweet to me? Like, this really sounds really patronizing.
Yeah.
And like, they would never turn to the sound guy and be like, "You all right, darling?" No, never heard that.
We should give it back in a mirror.
Yes, so I think this is the spot here where we all agree what we're going to say to them.
Yeah, UK sweetie.
Yeah. I guess it comes down to like a certain level of like a blanket of misogyny that kind of surrounds us a lot of the time, of people being like, okay, so you're in a professional setting, but you're not going to treat me like a professional.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, we don't have any prior relationship, you know? The only people who I would want to call me babe, sweetie, darling, sweetheart are my friends or my family. Not a stranger that I met 2 minutes ago and now is assuming I know nothing and I am no one to respect. You know,
Exactly.
I guess that's what it comes down to, because, like you said, are they going to stand to the tech guy and be like, "Oh, yeah, lovely. What are you doing there? Like, no, you would never. So don't do it to me. It's a certain level of respect that you deserve in a role, you know, that we all deserve as people and human beings.
Like, I did not get this job for nice eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here for my work, and like, we should be doing this work together, not to make prejudgments or like just kind of. Yeah.
You wore shades to your interview, didn't you?
Yeah.
No, but there is that assumption that you can occupy a space, and sometimes it's true, but not in your case. I'm not saying, actually, both ways it could be true, okay. But being presentable is important. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But there's that assumption when it comes to, for instance, like lineups. I'm going to call it out, okay?
Do it.
I'm going to say it.
Give it.
And I don't care that I said it. Quite often in underground music scenes, when you're looking at a lineup, and like you said earlier, there might only be like one girl on there, they're the promoter's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with like the nepotism involved in that, but why did you only pick that one girl?
Yeah.
And quite often, and I had it years ago and I get it a lot less now, I wonder if it's because I'm older, I don't know. But that a lot of times promoters would be hitting on me, and it's like, it's not that it's not a compliment, because I don't like to assume that it's like, but at the same time it's not a compliment, because you didn't hit on all the guys you booked for this event. So did you just book me for this event because you fancied me and you would like me to be in the same space as you? Or did you book me for this event because you genuinely thought I was good?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the problem with that. It's not the problem like, you know, we're all going to fancy each other. I fancy the pants off anyone who's talented. Anyone who's talented, yeah. It's a problem. Don't date creatives, all right? Go for the scientists, the nerds. I've learnt now, but it took me a very long time. Anyway, still mistakes me. Anyway, long story short, it's like, that's the problem with that. And it's not, I'm not saying you can't date people or you can't put your girlfriend on a lineup, but like maybe add a couple more people in as well. Maybe ask her opinion and say, do you know any other female DJs? Do you know any other female MCs?
Yeah.
Do you know any female engineers, producers, etc.? Because the thing that Ladies of Rage did really, really well and that I'm really, really proud of, and the reason I go around banging on about being part of it, is years ago we didn't have 50-50 lineups in Cardiff. And although we were looking at it as an industry-wide problem, a lot of us were sat in a room like, well, what can we do? Like, what can we do in this tiny little room right now? We can call out our friends.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Like, we were all friends with the promoters and the producers and the people who held these events, these venue managers, everything. We were all friends with them, and no one had thought to just turn around and tell your mate, why aren't there more girls in your lineup? It's like saying to someone, why ain't you got enough teaspoons, mate?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, it should have been as simple as that. Oh, well, that's my example. I was clearly thinking about tea. But my point is, like, and that's how we did it. And then by the end of the year, then we had lots of people who turned around to us and said, well, there aren't any female drum and bass DJs, and there aren't any female rappers, and there aren't enough of them for me to put more than one or two of you on. And if there are, they're not that good. And we went, oh, screw you boys. Like, there was a lot of arguments. It wasn't as simple as it looked. There was a lot of, like, rivalry and things going on behind the scenes before what I think is now a much calmer offset, where we've proved ourselves because we forced ourselves into occupying that space. So what we did, and what I would recommend for people to continue doing in your space, is if you see something, call it out, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, if you're right in what you're saying, people will turn around eventually and say, actually, do you know what? I agree with you, you were right. We weren't putting enough women up on the lineups.
Yeah.
And we probably should have, and there were enough people who were talented, because that's exactly what happened. So there was a massive boys' club thing going on, where they were going, there aren't enough of you. So we turned around and we put on a 12-hour venue, like 12-hour event at the Moon Club, that was just back-to-back female and non-binary talent.
Yeah.
12 hours long. And we said, tell me now that none of these people who were on this lineup that was 12 hours long were good enough for your event. And next thing you know, people were being booked for different things that were nothing to do with Ladies of Rage. So that's the part I was most proud of, and like just calling that out and making that point. And also then when it didn't happen, people were scared of us. Because we had a gang then. Yeah? It's not just me telling you, I got all these people behind me, and they're gonna tell you the same thing. So I think it's really important when you wanna occupy a space and you know that you deserve to occupy that space, to call upon your gang. You don't have to beat anyone up, but there's ways of going about it and proving yourself that you'd like to be part of a space.
Well, yeah, I think, as you were saying, it's important for us to feel represented. It's important to have that 50-50 and not to feel like it's women's night because then, that's my effort, is that I'm going to put a woman's night on. And oftentimes when they do that as well, they end up hurting other marginalised genders like trans men, like non-binary people, by lumping them in with us as if they aren't, their actual gender. It's the respect for the queer people as well, I think. And I think maybe that's why so many queer people feel happy to exist in female spaces, is because we will make room for them when other people don't. And even when they're like kind of pushed into our spaces, which is so unfair to them as well. Because like, you know, gender isn't just, you know, a struggle for women, you know, it is more than that for other people, gender non-conforming people, queer people generally. It's such a struggle to find, you know, and then, like I said, putting on events where it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to do like a queer event and then everybody can come to that, or I'm going to do like a women's only night and stuff. It's like, well, no, we should all be across the board included.
Yeah.
That's the aim for us all.
Those nights are really important. Those safe spaces are really, really important. But the whole point of those safe spaces is for that to spread.
Yeah.
And for that to become just normal. So that we don't have to continue putting on girls' nights or like having girls-only sections of the club. Because I've like heard of that recently, and I was like, that's a great idea, and I wish that had existed when I was like clubbing. God, it's making me sound so old. Like, but like the point is that that's great. But why does that have to exist?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why does the female-only part of the gym exist with the weights in it only? Because when I go into the men's section, well, the general section of the gym feels like the men's section of the gym, because there's a guy in the corner grunting, going, ugh,
Yeah.
or the ones that follow you around, because that happens a lot. Like, you'll be on one machine, happy as you're doing the thing, turn, there's a guy next to you. You plop along to the next machine, you're like, that was a bit weird. They follow you to the next machine, and they ask you if, like, you need help, and I'm like, I don't. The first time I ever occupied a weightlifting space, I know this sounds like it's not creative, but it's a similar thing. First time it was when my dad came to the gym with me. That's when the men in the gym, like, changed their thing. They, like, I sat in the sauna, and they all kept trying to talk to me. And my dad walked into the sauna, and they were like, oh, all right, Dave? All right, Dave?
Right.
And he starts talking to me, and they're like, oh, she talks to him. And they're like, oh, who's this girl then? He's like, my kid.
The second-hand
and then
respect.
They're like the second-hand respect.
The
Exactly.
second-hand respect,
I wasn't
because the
respected
man's
in that
involved.
space. I wasn't respected to go into the weights area until I was stood next to my dad, and then the look changed. So I used to go into the weights area, and people would be like, I don't know, how do I do an old man's space?
It's hard to do it because we don't tend to
Let me put myself in the
people.
active space. Yeah, I don't tend to objectify people, so let me try. Anyway, you guys get the point. But my point, like, the next thing that happened, but when I went in with my dad, the look changed. It was like this look of admiration, like, wow.
Yeah.
A father and daughter duo lifting weights together. How exciting. Never seen that. Like, and the look changed, and they were much nicer to me. And then the next time I was in the gym, I wasn't being hit on or creeped on because my dad wasn't there necessarily in that moment.
Yeah.
Secondhand respect is such a thing, like...
And I mean, it exists, you know, the amount of times, I'm sure that maybe this was something that came up when you were writing Good for a Girl, is that, like, go into a gig and maybe you got a partner with you and they just so happen to be a guy, and they get approached and talk, what are you playing tonight then, mate? By even just audience members, and you're like, actually, I'm the one doing the thing, like you said at your job. People being shocked that a female DJ has showed up, and they're going, oh, you're a woman.
The assumption you're not the groupie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, so moving on from that, I've got one last question, and then I want to open it up to a few questions from you guys or whoever's watching online. Hello at home. It's really easy for us to sit here and moan all day and recount all the awful things that we have to go through. How do you stop yourselves from getting overwhelmed by that feeling or feeling discouraged from working in an industry that isn't, like I said, built for you necessarily a lot of the time? So have you any advice on any women here, for the women here actually, to say, well, this is how you overcome that, this is how you do it?
I think it's about community, and I think we've all kind of touched on that with all our answers, but just surrounding yourself with other people who know what you're going through and are going through the same things and are doing different things, and like cross-genre with other people, get involved, do collaborations with people, work with female producers, and like talk about these things, but to try and make a broader sense of that, and I guess.
Find the women.
Yeah.
Kristen?
Because they're there.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I agree. Sharing, because how else? How else? Just to share your problems, everything. And also, remember that taking things personally is a choice of yours. On to you.
Sorry, I was just really listening into that.
You're just really creating a space for other women to support them. Yeah?
Well, yeah, no, like other people aren't really your competition. You're your own competition. I feel like that's something that a lot of people still need to learn, whether they're like female or whatever. There's another 10 rappers in your scene and maybe they rap a little bit similarly to you. They're not your competition, they're your friends, and like they're people who are going to support you and grow with you together. Like the same thing, it's like, it doesn't just have to be one female drummer. Shout out to the female drummer I know in this room, Ellie, I love you. Long story short, it's like, you know, like it took me a long time to break from that mentality of competing with other women, because my whole life I've been pitted against, and said, oh, right, so there's one mixed race girl here, there's another mixed race girl here, so we can only pick one of you. No, you can pick both of us. In fact, you can pick 10 of us, and we can do the same thing, and that's okay, because there's enough. I don't know, I must listen to like 20 artists a day. Do you? Like, so don't look at other people as your competition, look at your past self as your competition. I think that's really, really, really important, to just concentrate on yourself, and also to just support other people around you. I know it sounds like a really obvious one, but I actually don't think that some people have realised that. It takes a lot of maturity to realise that.
I think it's partly like the token slots at things.
The token slot thing is a problem.
And that creates competition, obviously, by default, and it shouldn't. And I think if you get together with other women and do creative things with them and not against them, you get a lot further.
With rather than against, absolutely. I think that is really important to hear you all as such amazing people generally. I'm so grateful that you've come and had a chat today. I know everybody else is probably thinking, wow, these girls are amazing. Look at the
You would be right.
And you are correct, yes. Everybody here has worked for what they have, and probably worked maybe a little bit harder than some of the people you know. So I guess if I have a piece of advice for you is never be discouraged. Only focus on yourself and what you want, and eventually achieve it by making sure that you make no compromises for anybody else. You know, because if you know they wouldn't make it for you, then don't make it for them. And on that note, any questions? Anybody want to ask us anything? Anything online? Hi, Connor.
Hello. Yeah, so we've got a few online. So the first one comes from Card Zone 1. He said, obviously there's a need for female-only spaces, and women have it far worse in the industry. But given that 70% of suicides are men, should we drop the term toxic masculinity and Billie Eilish's sexism?
Could I answer that one?
Go for it.
Okay, so toxic masculinity has created that space in which men feel the need, or pushed into that space. If we remove toxic masculinity, it doesn't just affect women, it affects how men feel about themselves as well. The great thing about female safe spaces is we sit around and we talk our feelings, because we've been able to do that our whole lives. We haven't been pushed and told to suppress our feelings. We haven't been told we're not allowed to cry. The problem is boys cry too. They should be allowed to cry too. They should be allowed to express their feelings. And toxic masculinity is the exact opposite of being allowed to express your feelings. So if you're feeling like the 70% of male suicides thing has literally nothing to do with women occupying spaces, and a lot more to do with how men also have that step to take within their own community about looking after each other, because that's currently what women are doing. We're looking after each other.
Yeah.
And again, the same thing what I said about competition. That guy isn't your competition, he should be your friend. You know, sorry, I had a rant there, but I hope that answered card person's question.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think you put it so succinctly that you can't really question that. I mean, obviously there is a problem with male mental health, and we all need to be understanding of that, but it is something that is imposed by other men. Women are only ever accused of being far too emotional by men, because you're told that you're not allowed to have your own emotions, and we then have turned to each other. So it's time for men to turn to each other, call each other out, and speak to each other and open up to each other. It's not necessarily women's responsibility to do that for you. You have to look inwards and fix yourself. There's no woman's job to fix you.
Your girlfriend is not your therapist, okay? Get real therapy. That one really annoys me all the time.
Anything else on there, Connor? Big questions coming today, huh?
Absolutely, that's brilliant. So we've got an anonymous comment from YouTube, and it says, what can we do going forward to put action to the conversation?
What do you think, ladies?
Just doing it, like releasing the music, or setting up companies that you want to do. Like we talked earlier about setting up blogs. If you want a job, then start it.
Create it.
Start doing it yourself. Yeah, create the job.
Yeah, Kristen, anything?
Yeah, if you've got a goal work for it, communicate. As we said, we think we said it before, like network, find these people, just go for it. Don't be afraid of do anything. Just do it.
Yeah, do it, create it, see yourself in it, put yourself in it, I guess, is like the biggest thing.
And it can be hard, obviously, at times, but just need to keep on going.
Yeah, that's why you've reached out to your fellow ladies and people who have similar experiences to you. You know, that's where community and support comes in. And maybe we talked about earlier about maybe there being a gap for, you know, people who are in promotion and, you know, venue reps and stuff, because there doesn't seem to be a community there. So if you see a gap, fill it.
Brilliant. And finally, we've got James on YouTube who asks, is there anything us guys can do to accommodate women more?
Listen.
Yeah, just don't assume we're the groupies. When you walk into the venue, don't assume that my gal here isn't in the job that she's doing. You know, you're not the tea lady. Could be, but even if you were, like,
you deserve respect.
Still deserve respect. We all need to be caffeinated. I'm personally, like, in the exact same way. I've been, like, the support act for a venue or something, or I've like, been the support act, and being out, like, backstage at a venue, and someone has assumed, like, I'm the groupie, or I'm the girlfriend, or, like, I'm not the, like, the songwriter or something, and I know it's happened to Valerie, because you said it earlier as well, and I know it's happened to you, Yasmin. I bet you, if we just did a little show of hands, the bare people in this room. Show hands. Just do a show of hands. How many times have you gone to occupy a space and they've assumed you are not who you're supposed to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's literally every girl in the room.
Pretty much every woman.
Like non-binary or like non-male person in the room. I'm just assuming you're all non-males. So like, yeah.
I think
just don't like, assume.
Everyone can challenge, and even women can challenge your own like internal view of the world and your internal like gender roles and misogyny. I think everyone has that. It's not just men.
Yeah.
Like we have it about ourselves. We have it about other women. Like I saw First Aid Kit playing Glastonbury, and I thought, oh, she's playing a bass. And I was like, why am I surprised by that? Why is that a thing? Or like, oh, there's a drummer, there's a female drummer. That's not weird, but you have to challenge that in yourself, and it's so ingrained, I think, that just challenging your own perception is like
challenging it and being mindful of it, you know, knowing that it's an issue isn't enough. It's then doing something, you know, like I mean, even just being on there and asking the question, saying, what can I do? And then, you know, ask your female friends. I guess
it's a nice little dip of
calling out
in the water.
Yeah.
Now
thank you. Guys, you've been absolutely amazing to speak to. Thank you so much for everybody for listening. If you need anything, we'll be here afterwards for you to all speak to. And we've got, I think, some other things going on this evening, and Porter's later tonight. I will be there as well. So yeah, thank you so much, ladies. You've been absolutely amazing to speak to. Yeah, congratulations on all your success. And I wish you absolutely all the best in the future as well. You're just icons.
Sure, the third will be equally as great. So thank you once again for our host, Yasmin Davis, who did a phenomenal job. And of course, our panelists, Eleri, Edith, and Christine. A round of applause for them. They're amazing. But don't forget, of course, you know what I'm going to say now. Please keep us tagged in your socials at Beacons Cymru and at USW_music on your Instagram stories, tweets, and Facebook posts. And why not tag #Summit while you're there? For those watching on our live stream, don't forget to join in on the conversation too. You can ask questions towards the end of this panel. But we're going to go into our next panel, which is powered by USW BA Music Producing and Beacons Doorstepping. It's readdressing the balance, women in the Welsh music industry. So please bring the warm, lovely applause once again, presented to you by Beacons Doorstepping. This is How to Get Into Music Production with your host, this time, Mali Harv.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mali Harv, and I'm just going to quickly read the introduction off the paper, and then I'll do it shit. So this talk is prepared. I've read it wrong already. This talk is powered by USW BA Music Production. BA Music Producing is a highly practical program that offers students a unique pathway into the world of music production through access to USW's Initiative Studio facilities, tutor expertise, and collaborative learning environment. It attracts aspiring music producers, beat makers, DJs, and composers who seek to become experts in the latest technology and forge careers with the creative industries of music, film, television, game audio, and beyond. So, today I am here with Minas. Minas is one of the most popular and versatile artists and producers in Wales currently. He's worked with the likes of Mace the Great and Luke RV and many, many more, as well as releasing incredible music such as Payday and Foreign, which I was listening to on the way. He's recently opened his own studio and is now looking to help artists record, produce, and get their tracks mixed and mastered. So, how did it all begin, production?
Right, straight in there. So probably started when I was somewhere under 10. And I got a small Yamaha keyboard, had a little 5-track recorder. And I just started layering sounds. And I kind of got obsessed with that for a while. And then stole my mum's laptop, got on GarageBand, and kind of went from there, studied it in sixth form, went to uni. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I'd say.
Do you have any particular instruments that it was a straight into production?
No, I had piano lessons when I was like 6, up to grade 6. And then I actually played guitar before that. My dad used to just like teach me on his Telecaster. So yeah, I guess it was a mixture of them two and the little recording and stuff that kind of, I just got obsessed with it, really.
Mm. And do you think, like, knowing an instrument well is, like, you have to know an instrument well to do production, or being a little
I mean, it's hard to say, innit? Because obviously I knew an instrument, but I wouldn't say so. I've got a few friends who produce their own stuff and don't play an instrument. I think the way of making music's changed so much now. You can, you know, there's stuff out there like Splice. You can pretty much start with half a song already. So I'd say it can help. You have more control over what you're doing, understand what you're doing a bit more, but I wouldn't say it's vital, no.
Mm. And you say you went to uni. I'm presuming you studied music.
Yeah, it was music production in Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford.
And how was that? And would you say that it's a necessity to have a degree? And what did you learn from uni that you might not have learned?
So I didn't finish my degree.
You didn't finish a degree?
No, I didn't finish my degree. But it wasn't about that end bit. It was about the like-minded people I met, the stuff I did learn, as much as I could. I was a bit of a daydream. I used to just write songs in my head and not listen as much. But I went back to the notes that we took after to like reference, and yeah, it's pretty priceless what I learned there. to be honest. So it's definitely worth it.
So when did you leave? Like in the middle?
No, I left. Basically, I got offered a bit of work.
Right.
And I don't know if I should. I won't name the tutor, but I had a mentor with one, and he basically was like, "Oh, well, what did you come to uni for?" I was like, "Oh, to get a career in music." And he was like, because it was basically that or the dissertation. I only had a set amount of time, and he was like, "Well, you know." And I was like, "So you're saying don't do the dissertation, just do?" He was like, "I'm not saying that. I'm just, you know."
I've heard that story a lot. It's like
That's the thing. It's like
sometimes people need it to, get more information and learn.
it's really valuable what you learn. But I remember I went to, when you do like work experience in school. So I went to a studio in Penarth, and the guy said to me, he said it's about what you can do over everything, and that is just the truth. If you've got a talent or a skill, that will overshine anything on paper. It's just facts, like it will.
Yeah.
In creative industries anyway, I'd say.
So what was that job that you were offered halfway through?
It was a composition job with a circus company. So when growing up, do you know Novit State Circus? I don't know if anyone's heard of them. I was technically brought up with them, so I was a bit of a circus kid. And an offshoot of them, Citrus Arts, I think they just remembered me from when I was a kid and he was doing some music stuff. And they just hit me up and they were like, "Look, we want someone to come with us to Green Man and compose and perform the music for the show." So I was like, "Yeah, go on then." And so yeah, I did that and then fully finished uni, but luckily for me, it didn't impact me negatively.
Yeah.
It kind of just carried on from there, so yeah.
So were you scared leaving uni, and has the goal always been to be a freelance producer? Because I know you've been freelance for a year now. How is that? Is it?
I mean, I didn't. It's a weird one because I was always, and I still am to a degree, kind of always flipping between producer and artist. I've just found a way to make it work to do both. But even that job I got was a composing job, so it was more about looking at the skills I had. Like being a music producer nowadays means like a lot more than one thing. So it was more about like finding the skills and stuff that I had under that to find work, if you know what I mean. I don't know if that answers the question. I don't know. What was the question?
I don't know.
Okay, good. Right, we're good.
We're in the same boat. Well, we'll go into, you collab with so many artists, so many great artists as well. What is your process with that? And who was your first client? Sorry, I'm asking more than one question in a question.
That's all right. What was my first? It was actually Dead Method, if you know him. He approached me while I was in uni to do a remix, because we went to like primary school together before I moved to the Valleys, and he asked me to do a remix of a song he was writing, which I did, and then he was like, "Oh, actually, do you want to produce an album?" And we started doing that, and he was like, "Actually, should we do a project? Should we just, make this a thing?" So he was the first person I like wrote with, and it kind of went from there. But I think my first official person I produced for that I wasn't part of a project was Razkid, the grime rapper.
Yeah.
Shout out Razkid.
So how do you think you got your name like out there then? So you started off with Dead Method and Razkid. How do you think, was it like word of mouth? Were you networking? Were you going out of your way to say, "Hey, do you want a track?" Or how did it? Like
a lot of it was word of mouth. I got to actually shout out 40 project as well. I got onto that. And it was through their networks as well and meeting various people. But I hadn't advertised at all or like gone out of my way to shout that I'm a producer. It kind of
your community
people
just
heard
grew.
People heard what I did and was like, "Oh yeah, I'd like a bit of that on my track," or something like that. So that's kind of how it worked, yeah.
And you're very known in the hip-hop scene, but you do produce a variety of genres. have you always been versatile? And do you think it's necessary to be as well?
You'll be a much better musician and producer and artist if you are into more than one thing. I was like one of those kids who went through loads of phases. So I was like a mosher, then an emo, then a chav, then a whatever, you know, whatever.
You should have a meanest timeline.
Yeah, and the same thing happened with me as an artist, like, and still kind of is, trying to like find your sound or whatever. But the main thing I'd say with that is like, you can be producing a grime song. So I was producing one with Raz a while ago, and I remember doing something in it, and we were like, "Yeah, that's sick. What's that? What did you think of that?" And it was actually a Deftones song, like which is a metal band, and that got me inspired for this grime track. So, I mean, you don't have to be versatile in what you make, but I think you should be versatile in what you draw inspiration from, definitely, because you just never know what'll click. Do you know what I mean?
And have you ever had a client and it's just, you're not quite getting their sound? And do you find yourself being sensitive sometimes as well, thinking, oh no, they don't like it, or can't believe they don't? Do you...
No, I'm joking. It's kind of happened a couple times, but we just keep tearing at it until it works. I worked really hard at being able to adapt depending who I'm working with. As a result, you know, because I would get obsessed with one genre or style, and I would have to learn everything about it. I had to, like, I got into, say, let me think. So, well, when I got into grime, I grew up with grime, but when I was like, right, I'm going to produce it, I'd listen to it, I'd figure out exactly what they were doing, what techniques they were using, what like soundscapes it was.
So you'd really research into exactly what they wanted.
And so as a result, I can kind of put myself into that headspace, depending who it is, if it's an R&B singer or a grime rapper or a drill rapper or whatever. I've done that bit of, studying, I guess.
Back to when you said, you said you were from the valleys. Did you know you were going to move to Cardiff? Was that always the plan?
No, I was going to move to Bristol.
Okay. What made you?
Again, got on the 40 project and was kind of like, oh, I should probably stick in Cardiff for a bit. But then, just stuck around, and, you know, the scene's bubbling. It's an exciting time, so why would I leave to go to an already established scene and jump off there? Do you know what I mean? Like, make it where you're at, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what, I believe in that. Don't have to run off to London.
No. I think there's whispers in the industry as well that people are like, oh, it's always London, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So there's eyes like looking outside now. Like, look at grime, for example. That was London only, do you get me? But now, Manchester, Birmingham.
Is there any part of you that wants to go London?
Shut room. I almost did last year, or I almost made the plan, but I just, for the same reason that we just said, I don't think it's the one.
Well, you have opened up a new studio, so that probably plays a part in it.
That helps, like,
How is the new studio? And
it's good. I mean, it's only been like 4 days, but so far, just having that like gap between home and work is really good. It's not, when you are working in your passion, it doesn't come naturally. You'll be up till 2, 3 a.m. because you're enjoying it, and then you burn out and you're like, what's this about? Like, what? Like, I got I don't know what it's called. I think it was nervous exhaustion, something like that. But I literally got so ill that I couldn't move for like half a day. And I just didn't understand why. And my mum was like, you know, you're working too hard. I was like, no, I'm just making tunes, like, it's banging. And it turns out you should really take days off. And it's that, it was from there till now, I kind of was like, I need to really realise that some of this is work. It doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. But you do have to treat it like work and give your brain a rest, you know?
Yeah. separate your creative space and your sleeping space.
Hmm.
Does your studio have a name? Do you have goals for the studio?
I don't know if I can say yet. We haven't done.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna do like a branding announcement and stuff.
So guys,
I
listen
think-
out.
Yeah, I think Emily'd kill me if I announced it now. So I'll leave it.
And did you have any grants towards the studio? Like, how did you get there? You just worked
Just
your way up?
production money saved
Oh,
up.
amazing.
Yeah.
Where was I? Have you had any barriers that you faced as a producer?
I think no more than anyone from the Welsh Valleys, to be honest. It's so, or at least I don't know what it's like now, but it was really hard to find a route. There was no clear pathway. So a lot of it you had to make yourself. And like stuff like this, I didn't know about any of it. Like where to go for advice. There was loads of advice for if you're in England and funds and all this, but it was like, I just remember hearing, there's funding cuts to culture, and it was quite isolating. So obviously, like, the mental health issues that come with that, and I think just being a creative anyway, you're a bit off your head. But like, but yeah, I wouldn't say any more than anyone else from sort of my area had, really.
And do you have any advice for young producers?
Yeah, stay in more and make more music. Genuinely, because it's like, obviously nowadays it's all mad now. You can make beats and put them up on BeatStars and they can get used by massive artists. Like, you got these like 16-year-old drill producers who are producing for like the big heads and that. But if you can hone your craft to a point where you have something unique that's unique to you, people will jump on you. Do you know what I mean? So that's my main advice, I guess. Just work on your craft. Don't rush anything. Don't doubt yourself so much. I know, like, the last panel said about no competition. You don't have any competition. I agree with that in the sense that you should look at what other people are doing and learn. But there's nothing wrong with finding a bit of fire off you. What are they doing? All right, then, all right. Watch this. Do you get me? Like, that's good. So, yeah, I'd say that.
So, who are your inspirations, production-wise? Who's giving you the fire?
At the moment? I mean, the one producer I was obsessed with growing up was Burial. Like, I've just got a tattoo of Burial on my arm, because, like, he did something that no one else did. And the amount of people that tried to copy him or take inspiration after, my inspiration is always someone who's done something different. That you're just like, what are they doing? Like, how did they do that? But I guess at the moment I'm listening to a lot of like Alchemist productions. Yeah, it's hard to really pin. I don't really watch producers like that. It's if music makes me feel something, I'll just follow that.
And back to advice for the young producers or people who want to go into freelance. How do you decide your prices? And was that scary? And how did you?
Yeah.
Was there someone to go to for that? And
yeah. I mean, I used to do like, I just remember doing £30 all in for a track. Just 30 quid's fine. It's hard, that bit. It'd be nice if there was more advice on that, because when you Google it, it's such a gap between, like, say, a home bedroom producer and Timberland or someone. But I guess it's more like start low when you're building a portfolio. But you have to look at the hours you put in, and it's hard because not every song takes the same amount of time. So, and not every artist, like, I'm still kind of working out now, not every artist wants to do hourly, because then you're sort of restricted, and every hour that goes by, you're like, do you know what I mean? So I personally do hourly rate, a daily rate, and a flat rate for a song, which is capped at a certain amount of hours, and I keep it negotiable. But there's no shame in doing contracts and stuff as well, because I've found myself in positions where people have run off with music just because I didn't, you know, I was sort of naive to that. I was like, oh, you know, it's all good. But yeah, it's just talk to other people who are ahead of you who've been doing a business for a while, because they'll all have similar stories to me. But I'm not going to be able to sit here and be like, this is how much you should charge, because I don't know how long you're going to take, you know?
Yeah.
So ask about, don't be afraid to ask either. It's like really worth knowing, like as soon as you can. As soon as you got a skill people want, put a price on it.
And a lot of creative people, they start off volunteering and doing things for free. Was that you as well?
Yeah.
And then did it get to a point where you're like, oh, actually, like when did you decide I need to get paid now?
Well, I decided a while before lockdown 1, but when lockdown 1 happened, I lost my part-time job. And it was kind of like, well, this is it then. And when you're like kind of cornered like that.
Blessing in disguise.
Yeah, pretty much. But when you're cornered like that, you just have to make the hard decisions because it's like, well, I got to survive. So that made it easier. I think there's a big thing. Like my mum used to run this they'd like kind of like a Dragon's Den thing. They used to fund new businesses, and she'd always said you have to take that leap. And especially with music, it's going to be a full-time job before it pays like a full-time job. But you have to take that leap and kind of put yourself in a corner to make those hard decisions, or at least I did.
Would you say patience is key, trying to be a freelancer?
Yeah.
Because I know some people are like, I wish I did it sooner. And sometimes myself, I'm like, do I work harder and try and be a freelancer, or just take my time and go with the flow? Or quit a job and go deep in? Like, what? Like, would you say just go for it, or patiently work your way up?
I don't want to be responsible. Like, yeah, go for it. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
It's different for everyone, but what?
Actually, yeah, no, go for it. Because if it doesn't work out, you can get a coffee shop job for a bit. Do you know what I mean? It's not hard. Like, so yeah, go for it. Actually, don't work for the man. So yeah.
Cool. I mean, I think I've covered all my questions, so I'm gonna take it to YouTube.
I'm afraid there's not much on the YouTubes.
Oh no.
But I've got a question, Minas. Why not? Why not? Just it's a really kind of a practical question. In terms of software and tools you use, I started off using FL Studio. Is there any shame in that? What tools do you use? What do you think is a great little stepping point? I know you mentioned Splice.
I use Logic, but there's no shame in not at all. I mean, you use what you're good at. You use what you know, innit? It does. There was like I know there's a bit of hate with FL Studio, but I don't get it. Like my mate Conrad uses FL Studio. He's just opened a studio as well. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you can make what you want to make on it, then go for it.
Brilliant. Thank you both. Mali, Minas. Incredible. We got a question. Here we go.
Oh, that's fine. Hello. Oh, hi, guys. Minas, obviously, you just said that you lost your part-time job over lockdown. I was wondering, how did COVID affect you as a producer? Like, did it make it a lot more difficult to collaborate with artists? You know, were you doing things more online? Was it hybrid?
Yeah, it was a lot of Zoom. As far as like the work I was getting, it didn't impact it too much, but the speed and the workflow is not as good as like Fionn will tell you. Like Zoom sessions just aren't. They're just not as what's the word? Effective, yeah.
I'm just wondering, other than the extortionate rent prices, what kept you in Cardiff? Why did you decide not to go to London? And be creative and say something nice. Okay.
How podcast, but like, what kept me in Cardiff? I think it was, I might have mentioned it earlier, but I felt like I was taking part in creating a scene, which I think is not something that happens often. And I thought, if I go to London, it was, what's the saying? If here I'm a big fish in a small pond, if I go to London, I'm a small fish in a big pond? Yeah. Basically that, yeah. Just want to be a big fish, you know?
Minas, is there any exciting projects you want to spill the beans on?
Album.
Yeah, there's so many people telling you not to say things.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like. The NFT project is, yeah, that's quite cool, isn't it? I've made some beats for an NFT project. I still don't really know what that means, but like, I think it's cool, isn't it? But loads of projects, to be honest. Cardiff this year is going to be, it's going to be sick. There's a lot of really good albums and projects coming out. We're doing Mace's show tomorrow, where we're going to like be performing a few of the new stuff for, you know, for the first time, which is really exciting because it's like a new style for him. It's what I try and do with artists is like, okay, right, we've done this. Like, how do we push it further? How do we like, you know, so when it comes out, people are like, didn't expect that, do you know what I mean? So it's a lot of that going on. I just don't want to say too much because obviously it's not my, I'll just get in trouble in it. Yeah.
Do you prefer being the background guy or the front guy? Production or...
It's hard because there's perks to both. And the reason I can't answer is the same reason I haven't chosen one or the other. I think I just like both. Performing's sick. Like, for me, like, I get everything out I can when I perform. But then collaborating, you know, I make art that I would have never thought of without the person I'm working with. So, I like them both.
Half and half.
Yeah. Yeah, half and half.
Yo, so I don't know, it's probably a collective experience. I've seen Minas perform so many times in so many different genres. I heard him shouted out on so many different songs, like let's just drop Mace's line in, Minas on the beat, it's mud. Like, do you know what I mean? That's a good line. Every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah, Minas! And when I see you on stage, it's so funny because you're so hyper. Like right now, this guy's sitting here so chill. He's so cool, yeah. But you get him on stage and he starts throwing shit. And he's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but like he starts like throwing things and jumping around. And I just want to know how you hype yourself up for a set. Like, how do you get that energy? Oh, okay.
Nah, it's it just feels when that's the only way I can like. I don't know how to explain it. It just happened, I guess. We used to perform and I was like behind the keys singing, like quite shy. And then I think one day we got drunk at practice and Greg and Bob started just playing this groove, like Bob was just going like that on the bass and Greg was just drumming this thing. I was like, yo, this is mad. So I started like, I write lyrics and they're normally like essays. I just started like talking it all over. And it got to that I get paid Friday bit, and I just started saying it, and we were like, oh, that's mad, but it doesn't sound like any of the other things, so, you know, it's a bit of fun. And then played a festival in West Wales, and they asked for another song, and we were like, should we do that song? And we did it, and the mosh pit went off, and we all were just like, do you know what, that's what it's about. And that was it then. Yeah, so I don't really think of hyping myself up. I think I just get on and I'm so like ready to go that it just happens. Like, I don't really remember much of what happens on stage when I perform. I see the photos, I'm like, yeah, literally. Yeah, there was one in Porter's, and I'm going like this, and I got the mic in my mouth. Like, I got the mic like that. I was like, what? Don't remember that. But, yeah.
Any more questions?
All right, pal.
All right, mate. I've seen you since New Year's.
Have you had a lot of jazz influence in your production? Who do you take influence from? And will you teach me all the jazzy chords, please?
Alpha Mist, Robert Glasper. Who else? It's mostly Alpha Mist and Robert Glasper, really. It was... and Jill Scott. It was when I was in uni, I went to a piano bar. It sounds really suave, it wasn't. That's just where we went. And my tutor's band were playing Jill Scott covers, and I was like, what is this music? What are those chords? So I went up at the end, and he was like, it's neo soul, man. And just got obsessed from then. So it's any neo soul. If anyone wants a really good album, there's an album called The Ghetto Symphony by Gino Young. It's really not well known, but well worth a listen for chords. So.
Well, thank you so much, Minas. And
All right, thank you, everyone.
I hope you're all inspired to produce. And we now have Sis to talk about the honey sessions. After the break, sorry. And we have two wonderful performances I'm so excited to see. I won't spoil anything.
Hello. Sorry, apologise for the deep menacing voice there. But we've got an absolute treat for you now. We've had some incredible panellists for something to bring up the energy a bit now. So before we grab a drink and have a chat and network, as I'm sure I can see you're already doing now. But thank you again. Thank you so much to all our panellists, the hosts, University of South Wales, our wonderful technicians who have been keeping everything going this evening, as well as here as on the live stream. But now we've got some live music hosted by the Honey Sessions. And so, of course, keep us tagged in the socials and throughout the performance at the Honey Sessions, Beacons Cymru, and USW_creative alongside the artists themselves. But, of course, without further ado, the final incredible event of the night goes to our incredible host, Sizwe Chizio.
Hello everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to see some real life faces. Instead of doing this over Zoom or whatever online medium, we'd probably be doing it over. Like Jordan just said, my name is... Jordan, your name is not Jordan, it's Connor, sorry. Like Connor just said, my name is Sizwe, and I am the creator of the Honey Sessions. What is the Honey Sessions, I hear you asking? Well, the Honey Sessions is a collaborative project. The entire premise of the project is to bring producers and artists together and encourage them to create music, long-lasting relationships, and also to challenge any genre that they are used to creating. Now, before I go into a little bit more about the Honey Sessions and introduce you to the acts that I brought with me today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the background, why it's called the Honey Sessions, and a little bit about what inspired me to join Beacons and create a project that was targeting my own community. So, about 3 years ago, I was in university, and I was sat there just thinking, how cool would it be to perhaps be sat in a room with people who enjoy the same music as me, or maybe people who enjoyed making the same music as me, or people who just enjoyed music in general. And then I realized very quickly after joining the Welsh scene as a musician that this is a feeling a lot of you had, and it wasn't only a feeling that you had, but it was also a place that you hit, like a ceiling that you hit. And there had to be something made and created that would sort of not remove your barriers, but definitely make it a lot easier for you to be the change that you needed. And the Honey Sessions for me was that. The idea of Honey came from basically networking. If you think about it, as creators, we all got a network, meet new people, introduce ourselves, market ourselves, tell people who we are, brand ourselves. When I actually think what or who is better at networking than us, human beings or creators in general, it's bees. Plain and simply, bees are the best thing for, well, all of humanity when you think about it. Without them, we wouldn't be here. But ultimately, they have the best network anyone has ever seen. They operate together really well, they communicate really well, but they all have one goal in mind, which is to produce honey. For me, the honey is the music. The bees are you guys, musicians, producers, creative industry professionals, all that kind of stuff, basically. You're all the bees, the worker bees who work together, network, make hives of your own, and produce honey. And the Honey Sessions for me had to be something that would embody that. Personally, for me, as a black musician, I found it very difficult to break through any sort of medium or scene in Wales. And ultimately, I was getting a bit sick and tired of waiting for somebody else to do the job that I was expecting them to do, which was make my life a lot easier. I learned very quickly that you can't be everything to everyone, and I shouldn't expect the same from other people. So I realized that I had to be the change that I needed. I had to look at my own scene, look at what other people were saying they were struggling with, and also look at myself and look at what I was struggling with and things that perhaps I didn't know yet or wasn't clued upon. Today you witnessed and got to hear a whole load of panels and talks from very creative and very intelligent and very, very lucky people to be in the industries they're in and working at the level they're at. But they all got there because of one thing, which was belief in themselves and other people believing in them too. The Honey Session started out by getting 5 producers and 5 vocalists and basically pairing them up. So this project was really sort of groundbreaking for Wales because there'd never really been any project that was targeting producers and making sure that they had a fair chance in Wales too. This one had to do that, basically. And ultimately, I was very lucky to end up at the start of last year in a position where I could do that and create the Honey Sessions and make this dream a reality. And I was very fortunate to join Beacons, and yeah, they made my dreams come true, to say the least. At the age of 23, it's a pretty big thing to say, but it's true. And because of that, because of Beacons, because of a wonderful team that I work with, I was able to actually give these young people a chance. People like myself who are struggling to break out. People like myself who are looking at each other and saying, you know, where can I get the help from? Where can I do what you're doing? I think it's important to mention as well that all of these young people have a background in music that some of us here can relate to. And it was also about making sure that we challenge, you know, stereotypes or any sort of prejudice that is around music of black origin, rap, hip hop, R&B, grime, pop, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. We had to challenge those conventions and those thoughts about what we make and what we do. We're not violent, we're not thugs, we don't do music because we're bored, we don't do it because it's just a little bit of income on the side that can, you know, feed another habit that we have. That's not what it is. For one of my artists, it was about, you know, remembering his friend who passed away, honoring his memory. For another one of my artists, it was about finding herself, discovering who she was, and making sure that she knew who her identity was above anything else before anyone else could label her whatever whatever they would label her, really. This really developed into something that became a little bit bigger than me, but ultimately it always had been, and I just didn't know it yet. So these artists and producers came onto my project, we paired them up, we encouraged them to make a song together, and from that, we pitched their song almost to industry professionals that were outside of Wales. Again, something different for a project in Wales doing talent development or just developing anyone, really. We looked to London, we looked to Sony, we looked to Reservoir Media, we talked to producers who have worked with the likes of Emily Sandé and Naughty Boy, and ultimately, what we wanted to do was give these artists and producers the best chance possible. And definitely a unique experience that they would never get in Wales, because I'm sure all of you know there's a glass ceiling, and yeah, before you know it, you've hit it. One of those artists that I brought on board was a young man by the name of Charlie J. Charlie J, who some of you might know, is a very versatile rapper, a very versatile producer, a very versatile artist as a whole. I think it goes without saying that without him, there would be a very, very big presence in the whole, well, in the scene that would be left as a whole, really. Charlie brings something that is, I guess you could call it formidable. For me, I think Minas put it best earlier. There's some people you look at and you see them as competition and you're like, oh, God, I need to do the same. And Charlie, for me, is that person. He gets me fired up. Sometimes I see him dropping about 12 beats in a week and I'm like, bro, do you ever sleep? Like, Jesus, give other people a chance. But he has been killing it for a long time now. And in terms of collaboration, he is exactly what I was looking for in an artist. I'm going to have him come up here because I'm getting very anxious talking to you guys. But yeah, I know he's going to kill it for you guys, and he's got a very, very, very good set for you. I don't want to spoil too much, but please give it up for the one and only Charlie J.
Thank you guys. Oh, firstly, can we make some noise for Sizway as well, obviously. And also live music being back. Who's excited for live music? So, as you may have heard, I am Charlie J, so we're just going to do a little thing. I've got a lot of music to get through in a short time. So when I say Charlie, you say J, okay? Charlie. J. Charlie. J. Charlie. J. And if anyone wants to come forward, please do. Well, you know, I know everyone sat down. If you're comfortable, that's cool as well. But I might be chucking a t-shirt out later, so you want to be close to the front. Yeah, he's already got one. Yeah, so we're just going to go from the start. Just going to go straight through because we've got a lot of music to get through. So hit that, DJ. Technical difficulties. There you go. There you go. Come on, Cardiff, make some noise for yourself tonight. Way. Check. Cause I don't wanna lie no more. You be my type of vibe when my eyes were sore. I know we never had any time to talk. So come and by my side and we'll take a talk. I don't wanna lie no more. You be my type of vibe when my eyes were sore. I know we never had any time to talk. So come and by my side and we'll take a talk. Now every morning now I wonder why 100 stories that I couldn't find. Like, and now it's summer and the sun could shine. Hi, I found it out that I couldn't fly. Light, and every morning you were searching, trying to find a job, little money, it ain't certain. I was working late nights, put a little work in. But at the beaches, I was out surfing. Body like peaches, I was observing. But always taking my time, cause at the moment I ain't making your mind, love. All we needed was a place to reside up by the beach where the sea would just line up. Need a little action, taking the dates. But you're the type of girl who was making me wait. And I ain't no one to force it, taking the weight off your shoulders, come over, make you a plate. And I don't wanna lie no more. You be my type of vibe when my eyes were sore. I know we never had any time to talk, so come and by my side and we'll take a tour. I don't wanna lie no more. You be my type of vibe when my eyes were sore. I know we never had any time to talk, so come on by my side and we'll take a tour. I couldn't just go and hug her. Keeping at a distance, can I really show I love her? Staying with my brothers in my family clique, and it's always on my mind if my family's sick. And I was always working cause the salary is the only way to get the food, imagine it is. And if I go to chill, I'm never grabbing a spliff, cause if my mama knew then she'd be having a fit. Even my friends are staying distant, they're on a mission and has bars for days. Feeling like I'm grander than a half my age. Sharing all my thoughts is like a part with change. I earn and try to keep because I'm turning in my sleep. And if another day's a burden, then I'm knowing that it's peak. And everyone I know is trying to burn another week. There's nothing really certain for us peeps.
All I want is some peace of mind.
Yeah, say Charlie, you say Jay. Charlie, Charlie. When I say hip, you say hop, you say hip.
Rolling over till I'm away.
Hip,
feel the days just fade away. Sitting down when the skies were grey. Now I realize we'll be okay.
All lights gone as well. Say we'll be okay. We'll be okay. Is anyone else here? It's nearly Valentine's Day. Anyone else here feel loved?
I just wanna be loved.
Hey, I just wanna be. I just wanna be.
I just wanna be loved.
I just wanna be. I just wanna be. I just wanna be. I just wanna be. I just wanna be.
I just wanna be loved.
Sing. Go on, you got this, Cardiff. Sing, go. Yeah, it's obviously not me singing that part. Everybody wanna be what they're seeing on the screen, but they're struggling for peace cause they're never getting peace. Stuck up on their knees while they're working for the beast, and the reason is they can't see. Struggling for weeks, thinking summer's by the beach. We were swimming by the sea where you love it hard to reach. Someone I wanna see, somewhere I wanna be. Making memories that we were sharing plenty moments. The ones I like the most, the ones that cost us nothing, but we still stay afloat. And all that jazz, my old team wanted all that cash. She complained in the whip like we might crash. I don't care about that in the end, I just wanna be loved. Hey,
I just wanna be loved.
I just wanna be, I just wanna be.
I just wanna be loved.
Hey, I just wanna be, I just wanna be.
I just wanna be loved.
I just wanna be, I just wanna be.
I just wanna be loved.
That's better, we got it, go. Check, look, back to them 40s. Maybe we talk, but you're never my shorty. Losing connections and never would call me. Needing support, see, sick that I'm never that poorly. Friends, they adore me. Caught you up and it's back to the bite. Long ride at the back of my mind. Hey, back to them 40s. Maybe we talk, but you're never my shorty. Losing connections, so never would call me. Needing support, see, sick that I'm never that poorly. Friends, they adore me. Caught you up and it's back to the bite. Long ride at the back of my mind. Tried and tested, all of this time that I invested. Only couple things that I won't mess with. Know that I needed that break like light a second. Mum on the phone line telling me it's home time to a bird box. Running with a clothesline, nights like this I've been laid out clothesline. Gotta pull through so I know gotta hold tight. Been on the break, pulled up to Manny and hopped on the train. And this is to those who have gotten away. Needed redemption like Andy Dufresne. And I was a kid who could handle his weight. Down for a few but I'm back on the 8th. Clearing my mind, tear it in time. Friendship's not broken, just fractured away. Back to them 40s, maybe we talk but you're never my shorty. Losing connections so never would call me. Needing support, see, sick that I'm never that poorly. Friends they adore me. Caught you up and it's back to the bite. Long ride at the back of my mind. Hey, back to them 40s, maybe we talk but you're never my shorty. Losing connections so never would call me. Needing support, see, sick that I'm never that poorly. Friends they adore me. Caught you up and it's back to the bite. Long ride at the back of my mind. I've been moving solo, trying to get that rose go, working in that dojo, even on my own though. Messages were stone cold, seeing how I cope though. Even when I'm solo, I've been moving solo, trying to get that rose go, working in that dojo, even on my own though. Messages were stone cold, seeing how I cope though. Even when I'm wet and while so I hit and slide. She said said that she missed my vibe, looking so bright like Christmas lights. Only kiss at Christmas time, losing connection, link that line. Wanted affection, give me 5. Wanted a mention on my life. Wanted that tension, give me time. Talk about streams, talk about numbers, talk about themes. You wanted a man like sure it's me. Bring out the whiskey, pour it neat. When we talk importantly, gotta be free, don't force it, G. Came back from an awesome week. Hear about yours, I'm sure it's peak. Don't let me get started. Don't mean a thing if the message was hearted. Swerve that message like I'm go-karted. So many numbers, phone just charted. Don't touch me when I'm in that zone. Never on silent, ping that phone. On an island on my own. Never a drought, so I just float. Northern man with a northern soul. And I got connects all around the globe. All my friends, they would go for gold. Dodging hits like a rope of dope. And I like to breathe, I don't like to smoke. 5 beats when they find the gold. Eyes for me when I finally goes. But a bit of peace is what I like the most. Solo, I've been moving solo. Trying to get that rose gold. Working in that dojo. Even on my own though. Messages with stone cold. Seeing how I cope though. Even when I'm solo. I've been moving solo. Trying to get that rose gold. Working in that dojo. Even on my own though. Messages with stone cold. Seeing how I cope though. Even when I'm whoa, calm down there, sis. When I say Charlie, you say Jay. Charlie. 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 Right, so that's me for tonight. You can find me on all social media. Official Charlie J on Instagram. Charlie J on Spotify. But before I go, when I say Aisha, you say Kigs. Aisha. 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 Because truth be told, I'm actually just a warm-up act for her, so... But thank you guys, hopefully you enjoyed. I will be about if you want to see me. I've got stickers as well. Who's never had a Charlie J sticker before? I will dish them out later, there is some left, but yeah, thank you guys.
That was amazing, man. Well done, thank you. Cool. Amazing. Cool, right, guys. Thank you so much for the support you just gave Charlie J. It is deadly crucial that people like yourselves, for example, continue to support artists like Charlie J. Now, the Honey Sessions did many things that I really enjoyed. The one thing that it did enjoy is that it got me into a position where I was able to meet new artists and also get to listen to a lot of new music. Speaking of, the next artist who I have brought for you guys to hear goes by the name of Aisha Kiggs. Now, Aisha Kiggs... Yeah, give her roses and all that, okay. Yeah, now Aisha Kiggs is an amazing soulful singer. Now, I want to say that she just does singing, but that's not entirely true. Aisha's got a little bit of bars in her. She can rap too on this line, yeah. Now, Aisha on this project was paired up with possibly the most difficult group that I could have put her in, but I like a challenge, and I thought Aisha would be a perfect person for it. Her group included a classically trained jazz band called Layer by Layer, and she was also paired up with Faith, who is an incredible singer too. The track they made, Minute by Minute, is one of my favorite songs of all time, and you guys will get to hear it in the next few days. It will be dropped on our YouTube, just as Charlie J has just had a song with Jimbo dropped on our YouTube, which you should check out. The Honey Sessions. Okay, now Aisha Kiggs, where are you? There you are, perfect. Aisha Kiggs is about to perform for you a couple of songs, and trust me, the first one, need I say more? Aisha Kiggs, please come up. I should probably add as well, before she steps foot on the stage, Aisha may not have a lot of discography out, but guys, I know she is cooking something up 2022. Yeah, serious business. Aisha, let's go.
Thank you. Is this thing? Oh yeah, it's on. Thank you, Callum. Yeah, how is everyone? Everyone is good. I hope you all had, wait, what day of the week is it now? Oh my God. It's Wednesday, right? Oh my God. So happy, is it hump day? I don't know how they say that. But yeah, I'm Aisha Kiggs. I'm a singer-songwriter based in Cardiff. And yes, I've been taking time, but I've got my debut single coming out very soon in the spring. So yeah, this first one, it's Dynamite-y. Hey, 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 hey. Hey now, could I be relevant? A born broke overgrown, sport in between the glass. Mom and daddy paved the way so I can gain that pounds. New days of fuck all that being an independent dependent. Watch me as I go, I ring your show, transcend it. I'm not really a troublemaker, but knew the difference between obedience, diplomacy, subliminate lessons, strategic. This is how you notice me, ready for vodka things. Sorry with all the shade. Maybe I got a neighbor, bitch. Could you say my name? Think I leave it that gaining the peace. It must be why then now. To knots, maybe dormant, grid warning. I'ma keep pulling where you and your big watch. Me that like dynamite. You see me blowing up the stereo, and I blow like dynamite. You see me buzzing on the radio, and I blow like dynamite. You see me bouncing in the videos, and I blow like dynamite. Everybody lose control, let my mind touch your soul. Hello, hello, speak up for the back row. My solitude is growth, I dip a switch, I'm on the roll. Recognize I flew these guys without a game plan. With a miracle, no prospects and feel like creps. If you don't know me, call me toothy, I be biting opportunities. Now excuse me, why I'm on like dynamite. You hear me blowing up your stereo, and I blow like dynamite. You hear me buzzing on the radio, and I blow like dynamite. You see me bouncing in the videos, and I blow like dynamite. Everybody lose control, let my mind touch your soul. Ooh, you say that my talk's so smooth, my confidence is where inside. You go to you. Gonna know the power of ego, but you gotta stand up and strive. Go get your life, stay on my vibe. Got that beauty, gracing glass, silent smarts, goddamn you said. Realize and you soon rise. Forget the standards we don't meet. Got the lots of negativity. Had the London look, now I'm all NYC. Just with my whoopee go back, couldn't end on C. From now I'm doing me, and I blow like dynamite. You hear me buzzing on your radio, and I blow like dynamite. You hear me buzzing on the stereo, and I blow like dynamite. You see me bouncing in the videos, and I blow like dynamite. Dynamite, we blow dynamite. Dynamite, we so dynamite. Dynamite, we blow dynamite. Dynamite, we so dynamite. Dynamite, we blow dynamite. Dynamite, we so dynamite. Dynamite, we blow dynamite. Thank you. This is my first performance in the new year, so it's just like, so this second song is actually really interesting how I wrote it. So I studied abroad in New York, and yeah, the guys are too fine in New York City. Fell for a guy, got my heart broken, you know, it's like, what are we? But I'm going back home and that kind of thing. So this song is called Don't Wanna Be Friends, and funny enough, it's produced by Minas as well. So I hope you enjoy this track. Da 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 da. My achy breaky heart gave out. Ooh no. At first I knew my role, but something later lost control. Kicking my feels at bay. Ooh, I'm making life, but in the end we're only human. I be acting secure, forget the prefix. Bloody line. I gotta dust it off, better get my edges fixed. Ooh yes. All my uglies for sure gone tear up shit. Be always my pain is who by resentment. Ay, I was lying, is no way in my hell. I give me once play, got you what pretend to know a face. I don't wanna be friends. No, 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 no. No, I don't wanna be friends. No, 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 no. I got off the datings. No, 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 no. No, I don't wanna be friends. No, 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 no. I got myself on me, a dream to see. Heart is a tick, my monopoly. Time matters is energy, the greatest power to give and receive. I part 11, I first got me peace. Even if it now is it you, is it me? The little side that lies, no lie. Hold it on that dopamine, no way. Yeah, our time was short, you know the bottom line. My grip on babies made for blurry lines. If that's a fact, then who deserves the blame? Sometimes I be even, I got some else to claim besides me. And the really push on me once you fumbled. Me scored a touchdown on my reality. The mind changes boundaries. Yeah, my mind no longer fits your frame. I'm sorry. You, everything I need to get me through this season. There is no way in my hell. I give me once play, got you what pretend to know a face. I don't wanna be friends. No, 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 no. No, I don't wanna be friends. No, 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 no. I got up the dance. No, 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 no. I don't wanna be friends. No, 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 no. I don't wanna be friends. Keep that in the past tense. Baby, why should we pretend like this ain't no dating? Baby, boy, but I wanted to be more than friends. Emphasis on the past tense. Baby, why should we pretend like we ain't ways apart? Baby, boy, bye. Thank you. Thank you. So keep an eye on my debut single, and thank you for tonight, thank you for this opportunity. Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram, SoundCloud, Spotify, and it's Aisha.Kiggs, spelled as Alpha India Sierra Hotel Alpha, dot Kilo India Golf Sierra. Thank you. Okay.
Amazing, amazing. So, as I said, like, crazy talented people. Charlie J giving us a medley of some of his best hits. That's not even, like, scratching the surface of this guy. He's got catalogue. And Aisha Kiggs giving us some vocals. As you can tell, like I said, even though she hasn't got the discography, she is definitely somebody to watch this year. Whenever she drops, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Now, before I wrap up, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the time to talk about this project, tell you why it means so much to me, and also to show you a couple of the people who I've met throughout this project and helped, develop a little bit. Obviously, they've done a lot of development on their own, and you've got to give them kudos for that. But I just want to say thank you for giving us the time. And on top of that, applications for Honey Sessions Part 2 are open. So if you are sat in the crowd and you make music of black origin, that's grime, hip-hop, R&B, pop, or rap, or you can make those genres, I think you should apply. Why should you apply? Because you have artists like Charlie J and Aisha Kiggs who come through these sort of things, and you'll get the chance to collaborate with brand new people you may have never met from all over Wales. That includes you lot back at home. Anyone who is from, I know, straight into the camera. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Oh, wow. So, the important thing is that you guys know that there is a project out there that is encouraging producers and artists to apply, 16 to 26, based anywhere in Wales. And you can be making music of black origin. That's any sort of music that identifies as music of black origin. We don't care what else you do apart from that. We want you to be unapologetically you, and we want you to bring yourselves, basically, and everything about you, everything that's great, everything that's quirky, everything that they say is weird or odd about you to this project, because it's what makes you unique to us and what makes a genuine artist to us. I don't know what else to say, but I've been Sizway. Thank you so much for listening to the Honey Sessions. Awesome. Thank you.